All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. So if folks could find their seats, that would be great. Great. Welcome to May 14th, 2024 City Council meeting. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
The record will reflect that Councilmember Grant has an excused absence.
Perfect. So today we get to recognize some pretty amazing things, actually. The first person we're going to recognize is Xiomara Alatorre. If you could come on forward. I'm going to have Cynthia Quimby from SCE explain why we are honoring Xiomara, and I think you're all going to be duly impressed.
Thank you so much, Mayor O'Neill. Nice to see you all, members of the council. It's great to be with you today. Again, my name is Cynthia Quimby, and I'm a government relations manager for Southern California Edison. And it's really been my pleasure over the last year and a half working with the city of Newport Beach. We really appreciate the partnership that we have. And it's really my pleasure to be here today on behalf of Edison International to provide you with some really good news. Many of you probably know us as the electric company. We feel at Edison that servicing our community is more than just keeping your lights on. And so as part of our mission each year, Edison International awards 30 high school seniors with a prestigious and meaningful $50,000 scholarship called the Edison Scholarship. And to qualify for the scholarship, students must live in our service territory, have a cumulative 3.0 GPA, show a financial need, and plan to pursue studies in the fields of science, technology, engineering, or math at a 4-year accredited college or university. Scholarship recipients are also eligible for a summer internship at SCE after completing their first year of college. And this program is all funded by Edison International shareholder dollars and not by ratepayer dollars. Just want to make mention of that. So of the 30 students awarded this year throughout our entire service territory, which covers about 50,000 square miles, 4 were from Orange County. And only one of those students, Xiomara Alatorre, a senior at Newport High School, was from Newport Beach, Costa Mesa area. Xiomara's scholarship is extremely well-deserved. She's maintained a 4.0 GPA and has been a leader in the Newport Harbor Marching Band, Wind Ensemble, the California Scholarship Federation, and other school clubs. She did all of this while also working at her family's business part-time. And she gave me permission to share something kind of personal, which I have found to be actually the most incredible thing about her. And that is that she did all of this in spite of the fact that her family, they actually went through some tragedy in January of 2023 when they suddenly lost her father. It would have been easy for Xiomara to take her foot off the pedal, but she stepped up for herself and her family at a time when it wasn't easy to do so. Her father ran the family business, so her and her siblings had to step up and to keep that family business going. Xiomara is a very strong and special young lady who will undoubtedly go very far in life. After graduating, she plans to attend UC Santa Cruz and study mathematics. She wants to set an example for those younger than her, especially those from similar backgrounds, to show them that being successful is possible for everybody. I think we can all agree that she's so well on her way of doing exactly just that. And so on behalf of Edison International, congratulations to Xiomara on being awarded a $50,000 college scholarship. You're so deserving, Xiomara, and we're really looking forward to seeing what the future holds for you. Thank you.
So I literally told her about 2 minutes ago that she had the opportunity to speak. So real quickly, I just want to tell you, because I told you this already, but I wanted to let everyone know, I reached out and talked to Newport Harbor High School Principal Sean Bolton, told him that we were doing this, and he was over the moon and really just effusive in praise. And that says a lot. So congratulations, and the mic is yours.
Thank you. I didn't really prepare anything, so I'm sorry if I stumble on my words, but I just really want to give a huge thank you to everyone here who is supporting me, especially my teachers and my family who have been my rock throughout this whole journey. Mr. Clay, Mr. Balone, Miss Tom, my mom, everyone has just been amazing these past few years while I have been going through my journey. I've gone through hardship and I've gone through a lot of great moments as well, and no matter what, they have been there. And I also want to thank you guys for this amazing opportunity and SoCal Edison's for allowing me to pursue my further education. So thank you.
Awesome. So we're going to take a picture right over there, and one more round of applause. So I'm going to go slightly out of order. I know we've got our folks from Public Works. The reason I'm going to put you just at the end, we've got a few more presentations, but we're going to be taking a picture outside with the giant trucks. And so I want to just have that as kind of like the break for the study session. And I promise I cleared that with Dave Webb first. So the next one up is the John Wayne Cancer Foundation. I know we have representatives. If you could come on forward. So Ethan, why don't you introduce who's here? I'd like to then read the proclamation, and then the mic would be yours.
That'd be great. Thank you, Mayor, City Council members. My name is Ethan Wayne. I run the John Wayne Cancer Foundation. With me today, I have Lauren Fraga and Myra, who really run the Block the Blaze program that has educated so many kids in the last few years. I also have my sister Marisa here with me and her son Duke, who went through the junior lifeguard program and received the Block the Blaze education. And Kiki's going to get some content for us.
Fantastic. So a lot of you know this, but the Block the Blaze program, which I'm going to reference in just a moment, and we just found out these are the newest hats.
Yeah.
They have been integral parts of the Junior Lifeguard Foundation, or the Junior Lifeguard Program here in Newport Beach. And so we're really excited to honor you today for all of the commitment that you've made to the city of Newport Beach, and especially our kids. So with that, whereas former Newport Beach resident and famous actor John Wayne became passionate about fighting cancer after he beat lung cancer in 1964, and whereas Mr. Wayne's family honored his memory by creating the John Wayne Cancer Foundation in 1985, the mission of the John Wayne Cancer Foundation is to lead the fight against cancer with courage, strength, and grit by funding novel and innovative programs that improve cancer patients' outcomes and save lives through research, education, awareness, and support. And whereas one specific initiative is a youth skin cancer education and awareness program called Block the Blaze. And whereas Block the Blaze encourages youth to be outdoors, active, and healthy while focusing on sun safety, including skin cancer prevention and early detection. And whereas Block the Blaze is the official partner of the California Surf Life Saving Association, bringing education, hats, and sunscreen each summer to over 1,400 Newport Beach junior lifeguards and an additional 22,000 California junior lifeguards. And whereas the John Wayne Cancer Foundation hires 6 Block the Blaze summer interns each year, which has included alumni of the Newport Beach Junior Lifeguard Program, and whereas the John Wayne Cancer Foundation donated $25,000 to the Newport Beach Junior Lifeguard headquarters as a sign of its commitment to the future of the program here in Newport Beach, and whereas to date, Block the Blaze has educated over 632,000 youth on sun safety and skin cancer prevention. Now, therefore, I, Will O'Neill, Mayor of the City of Newport Beach, on behalf of the entire Newport Beach City Council, do hereby recognize the John Wayne Cancer Foundation and Block the Blaze for its continued commitment to the health and well-being of Newport Beach's youth. Thank you. Would love to hear how it's looking this summer already.
Well, yeah, we're off with the bang this summer. You know, it started because we'd seen a program at UCI and we thought we could fund it and support them. And as we watched the program going, we thought we could add a little horsepower and get to some more kids. So we brought it in-house, and Lauren really took it over. And so our first in was with the city of Newport, and we wanted to make sure when we showed up, we didn't cause a burden to anybody, that we came in prepared and we could fill a gap when those guys had time to fill and still get the kids the education they need. And since then, we've been able to grow, and I believe we're in almost every junior lifeguard program from the Mexican border to the Canadian border and in 16 other states. And, this year we're going to partner with 4-H and FFA and a lot of the kids that grow up in the ag communities. And we're thrilled, but it all started with Newport Beach, so I want to thank the lifeguards here for allowing us the opportunity to come in, and I'd like to thank City Council for recognizing the work that gets done under my father's name.
Yeah, amazing. And as one of those kids who grew up in ag communities, this would have been nice.
Yeah, well.
So anyway, thank you. And then we'll go ahead and take a picture right over there.
Sure.
Awesome. And then could I get the folks from CASA Orange County, the representatives, to come on up? Fantastic. Hoping you to be able to recognize everyone here, and then I can read the proclamation.
I think we're good to go. Yes, thank you, Mayor
Thank you.
Will and Council. Will O'Neill, I should say, and Council. Today here with me, I have Nicole Anal. She is one of our Friends of CASA auxiliary members and board member, vice chair of that board. I have my Chief Development Officer, Erica Peterson, CASA Chief Strategy Officer, Matthew Wadlinger, former CASA advocate and board member, Colin Israel. His wife, Maggie, who was an advocate, is in the back as well. And we have our recruitment manager, Norma Mendoza.
Amazing. Let me tell folks about CASA, and then the mic will be yours.
Absolutely.
CASA of Orange County is a privately funded nonprofit organization that serves severely abused, neglected, and abandoned children. The group recruits, trains, and supports volunteers who serve as court-appointed special advocates, CASA. And whereas for over 4 decades, CASA OC has been serving the most vulnerable kids in Orange County who move through the child welfare system as a result of abuse and neglect. And whereas ensuring that the thousands of children and young adults in the foster care system have advocates is a huge boon for them and society at large. And whereas national studies have shown that 92% of children with CASA volunteers will graduate from high school, while only 58% of children who age out of foster care will graduate high school. And whereas 35 dedicated CASA volunteers reside here in Newport Beach. And whereas CASA volunteers commit to a minimum of 2 years with a youth in the child welfare system, each volunteer undergoes extensive training to learn how to best connect with their youth. CASAs will often assist their youth in navigating the complex child welfare system while balancing school and home life. And whereas May is National Foster Care Month, and the City of Newport Beach expresses its deep appreciation for CASA of Orange County and its many volunteers, and encourages more residents to step up to serve our vulnerable children. Now, therefore, I, Will O'Neill, Mayor of the City of Newport Beach, on behalf of the entire Newport Beach City Council, do hereby recognize CASA of Orange County for its powerful voices and meaningful connections for children who have experienced abuse, neglect, and abandonment. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you so much for this recognition. As you shared so eloquently, volunteers really are the lifeblood of our organization, and we can't properly serve the children in foster care here in Orange County without them. And we're so grateful for the opportunity to raise awareness and to hopefully recruit more citizens of this community. Also, the children that we serve, by the way, are represented by every community here in the county. So we've got children that we're serving that live in this community as well. In reference to your statement about it being volunteer, thank you, Foster Care Awareness Month. I did want to give Norma Mendoza an opportunity to share a bit about our volunteer recruitment opportunities.
Please, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor O'Neill. Yes, like Reagan said, and like you mentioned, May is Foster Care Awareness Month, and I just want to highlight that there are 3,250 children and young adults currently in the dependency system in Orange County, traditionally known as foster care, and we have 210 children on our wait list looking for a CASA volunteer. We need a lot more men, and we need a lot more Spanish-speaking volunteers for our kids in care, and like you mentioned, we already have wonderful volunteers in Newport Beach, but we definitely need more. Thank you.
Amazing. So if you're listening to this and that sounds interesting to you, please, by all means, go to the CASA OC website. I know I've checked it out. You have plenty of ability to do so. So thank you so much. Anything else before we take a picture? Awesome. Let's go ahead and take a picture. Thank you. All right, Patricia. So our last of the community recognitions is for Crime Survivors Resource Center, which is normally known as Crime Survivors. And I just want to say real quickly, this is an organization that has done some pretty amazing work. And I was reminded of that actually recently when I was at the Crime Victims Memorial that was held over by the district attorney, Todd Spitzer. Tricia is someone who speaks regularly and deserves the recognition. I want to make sure that not only are we recognizing you, but obviously the greater cause. And so I just want to say thank you for being here. And so I'm going to read from the proclamation, and then would love to have you go a little bit farther. Whereas the mission of Crime Survivors Resource Center is to provide hope and healing to victims and survivors of crime through advocacy and the support of resources, information, and empowerment from the critical time after a crime occurs through the challenges and successes of surviving and thriving. And whereas Crime Survivors' vision is for victims of crime to recover from their experience mentally, physically, emotionally, and financially by receiving the respect, support, and protection of law enforcement, the judicial system, and the community. And whereas 2023 marked the 20th anniversary of the Crime Survivors organization. In that time, Crime Survivors has distributed over 500,000 resource guides, nearly 10,000 emergency bags for child and adult victims, over 4,000 backpacks in school, and over 5,100 meal baskets to survivors and families. And whereas Crime Survivors Resource Center was founded by its current CEO, Patricia Wenskunis, okay, I practiced, sorry, who has gained national renown for her tireless advocacy on behalf of the victims of violent crime, including as founder and former CEO of Orange County Crime Stoppers. Now, therefore, I, Will O'Neill, Mayor of the City of Newport Beach, on behalf of the entire Newport Beach City Council, do hereby recognize Crime Survivors Resource Center for its tireless efforts helping victims of crime locally and throughout California. Thank you, Patricia.
So Mayor and council members, thank you so much for this opportunity, for this recognition. We, on behalf of our board of directors, our council members, our advisory members, our donors, our volunteers, and more so on behalf of all the children and families that we have served for now 21 years this year in Orange County, of where we started this organization in the city of Irvine. Myself, on April 4th of 2002, I survived attempted murder. And because of the city of Irvine, Newport Beach, Costa Mesa surrounding areas, law enforcement, community members stepping up to the plate and building me up as a survivor to not only survive but to thrive and to not be defined by the victimization and trauma, but to be able to start an organization to really bring awareness, prevention, advocacy, and healing to families of murder, survivors of attempted murder, rape, domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse, elder abuse, and human trafficking. We don't focus on the victimization and trauma, we focus on the healing, the brightness, taking victims out of the darkness and into the light. And we do that with hope and healing, and because our community has come together. Our resource center, of course, is located in Santa Ana, but we are looking for a larger location in Newport Beach right now because we have expanded tremendously throughout, and we do serve all of Southern California, helping over 2,500 victims and survivors every year. We cannot do this alone, so we thank you for your support, your recognition, and we really do appreciate everybody here in Newport Beach.
Amazing.
So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yep, we'll go ahead and take a picture. Thank you for standing. I appreciate it and waiting. So, Mr. Webb, come on forward. So this week is National Public Works Week, and Mr. Vukovic.
I've asked our utilities director too, because it's public works spans into utilities.
That's exactly right. Reason we waited for last is just an FYI. We're gonna, as soon as this is over, we're actually gonna go outside and take pictures in front of the trucks. And I have been told already to tell everyone on council, no, we don't get to drive them. All right. So
We don't?
we do not. We do not.
Can I make a motion?
You cannot. No. So I'm going to go ahead, same thing. I'm going to read the proclamation, and then Mike's yours. Whereas public works professionals focus on the city's infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of essential importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, quality of life, and welfare of the people of the city of Newport Beach. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals comprised of engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector who are responsible for building, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, and water treatment, solid waste systems, public buildings, parks, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens and civic leaders of the city of Newport Beach to expand their knowledge and maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works programs in their individual communities. And whereas the year 2024 marks the 64th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Now, therefore, I, Will O'Neill, Mayor of the City of Newport Beach, do hereby proclaim the week of May 19th to 25th, 2024 as National Public Works Week, and I encourage all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life for all. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'm always humbled to be here, and I'm always very proud to be part of this city. It's such a great city that supports its public works, its elements. We know these are kind of the foundations of our civilization, and this city does it so well. I'm always challenging council to find me a pothole, and we'll fill it. It's really a great city to have those resources, and understanding that public works really is so important. But the people behind me and the ones that are not here tonight are really the folks that keep it running. You know, some people joke it's kind of the silent service, but we're out there all the time keeping the water working, keeping the beaches clean, keeping things going. We have so many accomplishments. It's just, I get so excited because when you wake up in the morning, you go out on the beach, there's no trash. But if you go out there at 11 o'clock at night, it's pretty amazing that it gets done. Your water turns on every morning and it comes out, but it goes down this other hole and it disappears, and it just happens. And all that stuff doesn't happen. It takes folks like this, Mark's staff and ours, just to make sure it works. But it takes you folks and our residents to really support us, and that's where it's really great. Not all cities enjoy that benefit. We see that when we go traveling, we go to other cities. It's just not that way. But Newport Beach does it right, and we're so thankful to be part of you, thankful for the folks behind us. And we get to play with great toys that you guys fund. So, and you can actually probably work something out where you could start something.
I think we can touch them. Yeah.
But I'm going to let Mark take a little too because we do it differently.
Let's touch a truck. That's it.
Race to the tractor. Let's go. We do it differently in Newport Beach. Public Works spans up a lot of things, as the mayor pointed out, and utilities is very vital to us too. We have a separate department, but just as important in our Public Works operations. So I wanted Mark to come up and say a few words.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you, Mayor. Yes, utilities, public works, I think the easiest way to think of us in the family environment is we're twin brothers. We have our different expertises, but we work together. We're connected to serve the community. So even if we're working on a water line, we're focused on what's happening on the street and traffic and how that's connecting to the building and how that's going to impact the park. And so we're very well connected. We're very thankful. We're very appreciative of our staff and what they do and being on call all the time to make these projects and all of our operations happen, and thank you for the recognition.
Amazing. Real quick, one thing I realized before we go outside, this is one of those like rookie mayor moves. We have representatives actually from Senator Wynn's office and Assemblymember Dixon's office who actually brought recognitions for our community members, and I realized that as I'm looking right past you. Would you mind if I just had them come up real quickly and just because I know we still have Patricia and folks from CASA here, and we'll make sure we get a separate picture as we're going outside. But would you mind if I just brought them up for just a moment before we went outside? Come on forward.
Hello, Council, and thank you, Mayor. On behalf of Assemblymember Diane Dixon, I just want to thank you for recognizing these great groups who are doing so much good in Newport Beach and all of Orange County. And on behalf of the Assemblywoman, we have certificates of recognition to thank these groups for everything they do for our constituents and all their neighbors. So thank you.
Amazing. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Newport Beach City Council. And first, I'd just like to thank you for all that you guys do for the city of Newport Beach, the community, and the residents here. I think I can speak for everyone in the city that we very much appreciate the work that you're doing and the time that you commit to our well-being. So with that, for those of you who don't know, my name is Max Werner. I'm a district representative with the Office of Senator Janet Wynn. And it's always a pleasure to be here in the city to provide honors to very deserving organizations. In this case, CASA OC, John Wayne Cancer Foundation, and crime survivors. You guys do so much good for the city of Newport Beach and the Orange County community as a whole. And I know the Senator is incredibly appreciative of all the work that you commit. So on behalf of the Senator, I'd like to present these certificates of recognition. And we just wish you all the best and so much continued success in the years to come. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. We'll do that as we're walking out, if that's okay. All right, Dave, you want to show us where we're going? And then real quick, if you are here for public comment, just please stay. We will be right back to continue the meeting. So we're going to take a 5-minute recess. All right, welcome back. Real quick, I actually made reference to Touch a Truck. I just wanted to highlight for everybody. We actually have that event coming up, 3rd annual Touch a Truck event. on Saturday, this coming Saturday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. In the Balboa Pier parking lot. It's actually a lot of fun. You end up mostly, I will say, mostly it's younger kids that come along. And they get to touch things like the heavy trucks and the trash trucks and loader and street sweeper and whatnot. So anyway, Dave, congratulations and thank you again. All right, we're going to move now into public comments. Madam Clerk.
The City Council of Newport Beach welcomes and encourages community participation. Public comments are invited on items listed on the agenda and non-agenda items. Speakers must limit comments to 3 minutes per person to allow everyone to speak. Written comments are encouraged as well. The City Council has the discretion to extend or shorten the time on agenda or non-agenda items.
All right, if you're here to give public comment, now is the time.
Good afternoon, Adam Leverins. Questions about yacht clubs being exempted or somehow otherwise immune from the 300 over 500% increases in rent recommended by the Harbor Commission on April 10th have been raised here a number of times. I think I spoke about it at the last meeting. I mentioned that an answer has seemed elusive. Yesterday, however, Harbor Commission Chair Scully emailed me saying, quote, "We have answered this question in multiple Harbor Commission meetings, and the rate structure that has been recommended by the Harbor Commission is for mooring permittees as they are defined in Title 17 of the Municipal Code," close quote. That code is 70 pages long. I've read most of it and started reading it again today. The apparent reluctance, however, of a simple yes or no question I find alarming. I suspect each of you is aware that the State Lands Commission and the California Coastal Commission have great concern about the disparity between different rates in the harbor. And when you consider that mooring permittees are currently paying more than other users of the same state land, and the Harbor Commission's recommending increasing that divide even further, I hope that you yourselves find concern as well. Some decision makers and parties contributing to the formulation of the recommendation are pure permit holders paying much lower rates closer to the state benchmarks. Some of the decision makers and commissioners, I understand, are equity partners or members in yacht clubs. They have a financial interest. After a period of intimate involvement, the harbor master eventually recused himself, saying that he may have a financial interest. It's clear to me that a number of other people involved have similar conflicts and should not have participated in the process. Recusal as an afterthought does not correct a prior flawed process. As you go into closed session tonight to discuss litigation regarding this matter, I hope that you'll recognize the significant cherry-picking of facts and obfuscation that's been presented by the Harbor Department. Please recognize the wrongful conduct that has brought us to this point and consider how much additional inconvenience, time, and expense you want to subject civil servants, citizens, and the taxpayers to by trying to defend this position. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Bill Powers. I'm a resident of Newport Beach. I live on Lido Island. I've lived here for 45 years. I'm also a mooring user and have been for 15 years. I have, I think, some pretty good experience. I kept my boat for 6 years at Basin Marine and the remaining years on a mooring. I am not here to rehash many of the concerns that have been brought, unfortunate concerns that have been brought up. I'd just like to address the financial formula. The financial formula based upon, number one, the phase-in, and number two, the 24% indexing to the Basin Marine, I call it Basin Marine, Balboa Yacht Basin. It just flat doesn't work. I've gone through about every number, and I'm pretty good at this. So just a small example. In today's world, I used a 40-foot boat, so you'll notice I asked you, or I forwarded this on to you, and I highlighted the page with the line with the 40-foot vessel. Today, that mooring is $133. Granted, in the phase-in approach, it's $480. Got it. 5 years breaking it down, making it more applicable and easier for people to accept. The difficulty I see is after 2029. If we look at the historic rate increases at Balboa Yacht Basin of 15% per year, Last year, 16, the previous year, 14. The rate then will be for the 40-foot boat, it will not be 480. We will never get to the point of equality with the existing rate. In other words, we anticipate that the rate at Balboa Yacht Basin to be $4,632 per 40-foot vessel for a 40-foot slip. The phased-in amount will be up to $480. You will be asking for a gap to close of almost $600 in 2030. Almost $600. We have gone from initially 166 to 480. So almost a 300% increase. You can see, and that was substantial. If in fact we close the gap and bring that up to $1,116, as would be the 24% of the existing rate that is going to be charged in 2030 at Balboa Yacht Basin, that cost will be $600 more than the phased-in amount. So let me be clear, that's the phased-in amount, not the original amount of 166. We've taken that up to 480. The existing rate will be 1,116. Now, commissioners, many of you are business people. You have real estate or own real estate or certainly rent real estate. The fact that we can ask for 11-time increase seems unconscionable. In closing, I'd just like to say that the formula is distressing because I can't seem to make it work in my mind. I would wonder if there's a way to get a working committee to open this up again. A working committee perhaps with the Mooring Commission, et cetera. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. Mayor O'Neill, members of the City Council, City staff, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Ann Stenton. I'm the new president of the Newport Mooring Association. I'm here tonight because I'm really disheartened by this proposed mooring rate increase. I'm a school teacher. I'm on a limited budget. My husband and I have had a boat out on the mooring for the last 15 years. I grew up on the moorings. They were always an affordable way for us to access the harbor and the coast. People like me are going to get knocked out of the harbor. We're going to get knocked out of boating. That's what this means to us. There's a lot of other first responders, public safety workers, lifeguards, harbor service workers that keep boats out on the harbor, on the moorings. Generally, a lot of good people. And this is going to knock them out of the harbor. As president of the NMA, I'm concerned because I don't feel like there's really been direct, real dialogue with the Harbor Commission. We've been trying for a few months. I'm kind of new at this, but from what I've seen, it hasn't been real dialogue. And, I'm trying to look through and better understand these issues, and there's just a lot of disparity in the tideland rates. I think it would be a more fair and balanced approach for the city manager to maybe pull this back and do a global rate study. Maybe take another look at this, see if we can kind of maintain our boating ecosystem out on the harbor so people like me can still have a boat and still access the harbor. We think some meaningful discussion and a thoughtful approach could allow for a fair outcome that works for all of our community stakeholders. Now that the mooring rate recommendations have been passed to City Council, we were hoping it would be possible to meet with the city manager or mayor or whoever you have available to go over some of our concerns and look for a mutually beneficial solution. There has to be a better way to go about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. All right, Mr. Harp.
Thank you, Mayor. The City Council will adjourn a closed session to meet with legal counsel regarding one matter where there is a significant exposure to litigation, and that's set forth on the agenda under item 4A, and to meet with the city negotiators regarding real property negotiations with Mr. Palmer Lucky regarding the use of a portion of the public right-of-way adjacent to 929 Zurich Circle and 944 Via Lido Nord, as set forth on the agenda under item 4B.
All right, we anticipate reconvening our regular meeting at 6 p.m. Thank you. All right. Welcome to May 14th, 2024 regular meeting. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
The record will reflect that Councilmember Grant has an excused absence.
Thank you. Mr. Harp, do we have a closed session report?
Thank you, Mayor. We do not have a report this evening.
Meaning we took no action, reportable action?
That's correct.
All right. Okay, so we'll go now into our invocation by Gene Clark from the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Blum. Looks like I'll go ahead. All right, please bow your heads. Lord, thank you for this gathering. Thank you for the ability to gather. We ask that you watch over those who protect us. We ask that you watch over our residents. We ask that you watch over those stationed overseas, especially during difficult and turbulent times. We ask that you grant us wisdom as we make decisions tonight. And these things we ask in thy name. Amen.
If you'll please join us in the pledge to our amazing country. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Madam Clerk.
The City Council of Newport Beach welcomes and encourages community participation. Public comments are generally limited to 3 minutes per person to allow everyone to speak. Written comments are encouraged as well. The City Council has a discretion to extend or shorten the time limit on agenda or non-agenda items.
All right, we'll move into City Council announcements and oral reports from City Council on committee activities. Councilmember Kleiman.
Thank you, Mayor. It's been a busy several weeks, so buckle up.
No report.
Starting with Councilmember Blum and I, along with City Attorney and Assistant City Manager, had a successful trip to DC advocating for our FAA reauthorization bill inclusions, as well as a seat at the table in the planning process for advanced air mobility emerging technologies. We also had a chance to brief residents on our efforts at our quarterly aviation committee meeting yesterday. I attended the monthly OCOG board meeting and annual SCAG conference, represented Newport at the city selection committee, presented to Speak Up Newport attendees on the topic of Prop 1. And I'm sure Mayor Pro Tem Stapleton will go into further detail about our Newport Beach Foundation's second annual Surf and Turf Polo Classic, which was a blast. And lastly, I had the pleasure of attending the Police Appreciation Lunch and Fire Department's badge pinning ceremony. Congratulations to all of those who received well-deserved awards and promotions. And on that note, congratulations to our Fire Chief Jeff Boyles for being named First Responder of the Year by the Association of California Cities. Thank you.
Councilmember Blum.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing else to add.
Councilmember Avery.
Yeah, I also attended the police appreciation lunch, which was great, and the fire badge pinning ceremony for the fire department, which is always a reminder of the families that are behind our public safety folks. You know, it's just amazing to see so much support from everyone, and they do a great job in a sometimes very difficult situation. And then I also attended the administration committee meeting of the Orange County Sanitation District. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Wagon.
No report this evening.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem Stapleton.
Okay, I've got a little show and tell. I'll get into it. This is my first photo. This was the mayor's reception for the Newport to Ensenada. So this is what happens when the mayor can't make it. He tells you to show up. You don't know what you're walking into, and you've got a delegation of 20 from the city of Ensenada, Mexico, and you've got to prepare a gift exchange, and you don't know what's going on. So thank you for that.
Oh, I made sure you had a gift.
It was fun. I gave a lot of cheese boards out to them, but we had the mayor of Ensenada and a lot of people. I think we had 150 boats that participated in this year's Newport 10 Sonata. So all kidding aside, it was an incredible event hosted by the BCYC. It was great. So that was my first photo, and the second one is our Distinguished Citizen Program. We launched our DCP class to the Newport Beach Foundation. This is the mayor, and a great photo of us behind him doing our groundbreaking at the trash wheel. But this is the 10th class, the Distinguished Citizen Program. We've got 34 students in that class, and something that we're all very proud of. And then I think Councilwoman Kleiman talked about it, but this is our Surf and Turf Polo Classic. This was the second annual. This is a shot of some of our board members there with one of the polo players. And then the second shot are some of the ponies at Peninsula Park. So it was a fun day, raised a lot of money for the foundation. The next photo is the Orange County Marathon. So bright and early, went out with the mayor. That's my good buddy Dan in the middle. He ran the Boston Marathon with me. I think there were over 20,000 runners that morning in Fashion Island. So it was a fun time. And then, of course, what wouldn't be complete this time of year without all the yacht club openings. So I was fortunate to attend the American Legion, the Newport Harbor Yacht Club, Lido Isle, and the Balboa Yacht Club. And congratulations to all the firefighters in their badge pinning ceremony, and to Chief Boyles as well. And I also attended the police luncheon. So 500 people, really well attended. That's my report.
Great. In addition to a lot of the activities that the Mayor Pro Tem just mentioned, I also was able to attend the Newport Beach Arbor Day ceremony with the Newport Coast Elementary School with Councilmember Wygand. If you see 5 new trees planted up near Newport Coast Community Center, the children at Newport Coast Elementary School were the ones who planted those. Let's see, I attended the recent Transportation Corridor Agencies meeting as the alternate for Councilmember Grant. The city manager and I were in attendance to watch our fire chief win that award from ACCOC. It was a special recognition, and I appreciate that. Upcoming, we've got a few events. On Saturday of this week, we have the 3rd annual Touch a Truck event from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. I would recommend, if you have kids, to come after 10 a.m. because then they'll actually be able to honk the horns on the heavy trucks and equipment. But it's a lot of fun. So it's over at the Balboa Pier parking lot. On May 20th, we're going to be celebrating the opening of the Newport Coast pickleball courts, which is going to be really exciting. That one's going to be a fun one. I'm just realizing I need to at 10 a.m. So that's going to be fun. And then before our next council meeting, we have Memorial Day. So I'd like to remind everyone the purpose of Memorial Day, and then if you have an opportunity to get out to the Field of Honor up in Castaways, strongly encourage you to do so. On Memorial Day itself, the Newport Harbor Exchange Club, which is the organization that puts the flags up there, 1,776 of them, will be having a ceremony marking the day. So with that, we'll move into public comments on the consent calendar. Madam Clerk.
This is a time in which council members may pull items from the consent calendar for discussion. Those are items 1 through 9. Public comments are also invited on consent calendar items. Speakers must limit comments to 3 minutes. Before speaking, please state your name for the record. If any item is removed from the consent calendar by a council member, members of the public are invited to speak on each item for up to 3 minutes per item. All matters listed under consent calendar are considered to be routine, will all be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. Council members have received detailed staff reports on each of the items recommending an action. There will be no separate discussion of these items prior to the time the City Council votes on the motion unless members of the City Council request specific items to be discussed and are removed from the consent calendar for separate action.
All right. Councilmember Kleiman.
None.
Councilmember Blom.
None.
Councilmember Avery.
I have none.
Councilmember Wygand.
I do not.
Mayor Pro Tem.
None.
I had one clarification, which would normally be done at study session, but since we didn't have a study session, on number 4, specifically in the proposal for D1, just a clarification from our city attorney. There's a reference to news releases, making sure that they are the personal digital communication platforms shall not be utilized for the dissemination of official news releases. I just want to clarify, you're talking about the initial dissemination, like the news will break through ours, but if a council member or someone else like a commissioner wanted to repost it onto their own social media, that's not what's being prohibited?
That's absolutely correct. So what's being referred to there is the original posting.
Yep. Okay, that's all. Yeah, that's all I need to double check. All right, with that, then I have nothing.
Okay, I'll move the consent calendar with the amendments to item number 1, the minutes.
All right. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilmember Blom. We'll go out to public comment on our consent calendar only at this time, which is items 1 through 9. Do we have any public comments on items 1 through 9?
Mayor O'Neill, members of the council, my name is Jim Mosher. With respect to that, item number 4, which is a staff recommendation to make amendments to a number of city council policies to clarify and ensure a clear distinction between personal and official communications of city-related business. I want to discuss that since these are council policies, and this is a staff recommendation, as the council, you may want at some point to make a more thorough review of these particular policies. You used to have a policy to review these once a year. You no longer have that policy, so some of them kind of go by the wayside. I'm sure policy A1, which is often referred to here, could use some review. As a member of the appointed to the General Plan Advisory Committee, I know policy A2, which has to do with rules for boards, commissions, and committees, could use some review. One specific thing I could point out is the application process is not very clearly laid out in it. A council some years ago wanted to make sure that the applications would stay on file for 2 years. That is in the policy. That does happen. When vacancies occur, people with an application are reminded or asked if they're still interested. What they're not told is when their application is destroyed. And a council some years ago thought that would be a good idea. Somehow it didn't get into the policy that when an application is destroyed, that people are told that that is happening and that they should submit a new one. That's an example of a revision you want to make. A more important one is this new policy that the staff is recommending and other policies you have in there as to the conduct of the members, for instance. There's nothing in the policy that says the members have to be informed you even have a policy. And I can tell you as a member of the General Plan Advisory Committee, I and the other members were never told that there was a policy A2 we were supposed to look at to know what you wanted us to do. And I see now it has rules of conduct that we're supposed to be following. We don't know about that. We were told that we should be careful not to violate the Brown Act, but we were given no training at all on what that is. So you might want to incorporate things like that at some future point. New appointees should be informed of the policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Adam Leverins, I wanted to quickly touch on a few items in the consent calendar. The first thing, number 3, related to fees. This was discussed at the last regular meeting. As you all know, there's going to at some point be a 2.85% fee charged on people using credit cards to pay their bills. I went over and paid my mooring rent this afternoon in person in cash. The time consumed, see, the fee on my amount of mooring rent would be $3.81. I question whether the staff time to help me and accept cash and all that, you may not be saving as much money as you think. On item number 4, the official personal communications policy, I noticed in the staff report it indicated that communications should be factual in nature. I highly support that, and there's a particular commission that has not been abiding by that. I'd like to see that abided by in the future. And then on item number 9, the boat electric charging station to be at Marina Park, I read through the documentation, not as thoroughly as I would have liked, but I didn't see any criteria in there for time the thing is functional or how they are functional. And if you follow electric car charging, the complaints are that so many of them, you pull up to use them, they don't work. They're out of repair for a long period of time. And I think in the agreement, maybe some criteria, specific criteria should be added so that if the city finds itself displeased, it can get out of it and there's some set benchmarks for functionality. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments on the consent calendar? All right, we'll bring it back. We have a motion and a second. Let's go ahead and vote.
Prior to reading the vote, I'll read the ordinance titles for item 3, ordinance 2024-12, an ordinance of the City Council of City of Newport Beach, amending section 3.36.30 of the Newport Beach Municipal Code related to cost recovery percentages, and ordinance 2024-13, amending section 15.2.85, addition of section 105.3.1.1 of the Newport Beach Municipal Code related to demolition waste disposal.
Pretty sure.
By show of hands, that would be 6-0. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Time to move into public comments on non-agenda items, Madam Clerk.
Public comments are invited on non-agenda items generally considered to be within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. Speakers must limit comments to 3 minutes. Before speaking, please state your name for the record.
How many folks plan on speaking on non-agenda items tonight? Okay, we're going to limit it to 2 minutes tonight then. Go ahead.
2 minutes?
Yeah, 2 minutes.
My name is George Hilkema.
I'm sorry, sir. Could you speak into the mic? Thank you.
My name is George Hilkema. At the June meeting of the City Council, you will very likely be asked to approve the proposal submitted by the Harbor Commission to greatly raise the annual fees paid to the city for both onshore and offshore mooring permits. In your review of this proposal, I would request that you consider this question. I have a slide to go with this, if I could have it. Do some of the boats in Newport Harbor pay no tideland fee at all? Every boat in Newport Harbor uses the public tidelands in exactly the same way. On a sunny day, every boat casts a shadow on the bottom of the bay, which shows its approximate claims on public tidelands. Whether it is secured to some cleats on a dock or secured to lines attached to floating buoys, secured to chains and iron weights on the bottom of the bay, there's no difference in its claim for private use of public tidelands. Every boat then should be paying for the private use of public tideland space. In this familiar slide, can I have my slide? It was sent to you yesterday. George Hilkema?
You can email it to us later, sir.
Pardon?
You can email it to the City Council later. We'll look at it.
Okay. It's a picture of an illustration by the NMA of a public dock compared to a mooring. In this familiar slide from the NMA printed below, boats are illustrated as at a private dock compared to a boat on an offshore mooring. The text on the slide notes that for the same number of square feet of dock surface compared to the same number of square feet determined to be the footprint of a boat on a 40-foot mooring, the dock owner pays $30 per month, while the mooring permit holder will pay $480 per month as a tideland fee. This is actually a dock-to-boat comparison. If you look again at the drawing, you'll see that there are...
You can go ahead and conclude, sir. Go ahead. Please conclude. It's okay. Go ahead.
There are 2 boats, one on each side of the wooden dock. A minimal fee is paid at the dock, but no tideland fee is paid for the boats. Given the non-discrimination requirement of the code under which the city of Newport Beach is granted administration of the public tidelands, the reality that some boat owners pay no fee at all for the private use of public tidelands shows the city is not in compliance with the rules. The code I'm referring to is the Beacon Bay Bill, which says in the management and conduct and
Sir,
operation...
I'm sorry. Are you almost done?
Pardon?
I was asking you to wrap up.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. If you're planning on speaking, if you could line up, we've got 2 mics. Line up behind each mic so we can get an accurate count. Thank you. Come on forward.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Chris Bliss. I had a 3-minute timed thing here, but I'll try to cut it down. The Harbor Commission's plans and administration of the mooring fields in Newport Harbor are wrong on so many levels, it's difficult to list them all. Now, getting back to the rate hikes, the average yearly fee in California for a 40-foot mooring with a dinghy dock is $1,091. That's the average fee in the whole state. We're currently paying $1,603 in Newport Beach without any access or amenities. All the other places have dinghy dock access, all right? After the new phase-in with the new rate hike plan, it's going to be $5,760. Now, with inflation and the marina slip fee increases and everything else, it's likely going to go up to about $10,000. And I just have to ask, on what planet is going from $1,603 to $10,000 fair? The Harbor Commission is always talking about trying to achieve fair market value. This rate hike is designed to deny access to all but the wealthiest people and force middle-class boaters out of the harbor. It will put an end to affordable family boating in Newport Harbor forever. Last week, we presented all the same concerns and findings to the California Coastal Commission at their most recent meeting in Crescent City. Vice Chair Linda Escalante immediately expressed alarm. Outrageous, she said, the outrage. There is truly a huge disparity and injustice, and it's got to stop. And then she went on. This is quite an inequity, and we need to make sure that this type of public access is protected. And I'd just like to repeat that. This is quite an inequity, and we need to make sure that this type of public access is protected. The California Coastal Commission is respected worldwide for fairness and commitment to keeping our beautiful California coastline accessible for everyone to enjoy. I respectfully ask the council to pull this plan off the table, take a step back, and perform a comprehensive rate study of the various title and permits in the harbor in order to make sure that rates are established fairly and equitably.
Thank you.
It is simply not fair to discriminate on one classification of permits without looking at the big picture.
Thank you.
And making it fair for everybody.
All right, next speaker, please.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Alan Gunther. I'm an avid pickleball player, and I'm delighted that the city is going to open on Monday their 8 additional courts. Thank you very much. 3 or 4 times a week, I play at Veterans Sports Park in Tustin, and they have a wonderful system for signing up and reserving and paying for a court. And I'm very concerned that the system that I understand is in place for the new facility, I think it's going to have quite a few problems. So if anyone is interested, I'm happy to share the details of what Tustin does.
So I'm going to have our rec department director raise his hand back there, and he's the person to talk to.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
My name is Jennifer Creston, and I just wanted to, at this point, repeat what Mr. Hilkema didn't get to say, which was the Beacon Bay bail granting statute for the city of Newport Beach Tidelands. In the management, conduct, operation, and control of the lands or any improvements, betterments, or structures thereon, the city or its successors shall make no discrimination in rates, tolls, or charges for any use or service in connection herewith. Then I wanted to read some comments that were put on a petition that the NMA had. We got over 700 signatures, and I will not mention people's names except for their first names. There were no positive comments, so these are all rather negative. The rent increase ridiculous, and the city should be ashamed for trying to inflict such unfairness on people. Merity, to be fair and non-discriminatory, the city has 2 choices: raise every Tidelands permittee's fees equally, including yacht clubs and private home docks and every business on the water, or reduce mooring rates to an amount equal to what these people actually pay for the same space. Chris, I think the mooring rate should stay affordable for those with boats that are regular people, not super yacht owners with unlimited money. Boats are already expensive. Keep the rates affordable. Steve, it's ridiculous. Harbor Commission has wasted our money and are trying to get it back by increasing the mooring rates. There are 0 accommodations for having a boat on a mooring in Newport Harbor. There's no place to pull your boat, to wash it off, or perform any basic maintenance without getting reamed by the harbor enforcement. There is nowhere to park a dinghy for multiple days at a time. We need a better solution and better leaders. Rick, the Harbor Commission has consistently acted in bad faith, and they seem to have it out for mooring permit holders. There should be pressure applied to the mayor and city manager who have appointed the harbor master. It is an election year. There was no budget issue when the Harbor Patrol was managing moorings. When the city took over, they did not need to build a new building and hire a bunch of people who motor around trying to find things to ticket, and they still provide no services. Bryan. The Newport Harbor Commission is irresponsible in recommending this increase. They show total disregard for liveaboards who will be displaced from their homes and those who are retired and planned to live aboard in their senior years. Total irresponsibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Garrett Kleiser, and I've been lucky enough to be a Newport resident for the past 10 years. I live sandwiched between a restaurant and the chicken coop, and I want to thank you all for allowing me the time to say what I need to say. I know this is a non-agenda item, but I thought it was important nonetheless. We are all aware of the rampant illegal immigration that's causing so many issues, not just in California, but all throughout the country. Since January 2021, more than 10 million illegal aliens have been reported entering into the country. This is just the reported amount. This is not accounting for the millions more that have not been documented crossing the border illegally. I know I don't need to give you guys the stats. I'm sure you are all very well aware of the situation, as are most Americans. But the other day, I saw something, and I'm sure you saw it too, that was truly concerning. The video that is going around on social media pages showing illegal aliens storming beachheads like it was Normandy. These aliens, mostly men, ran their boat ashore and then abandoned the ship while the engine was still on and sprinted into the street, hopping into vehicles that were waiting for them. This video wasn't taken in Texas or Arizona or any other border town. It wasn't taken in San Diego. This video was taken right here in Newport Beach. I did see that the sheriff addressed the issue briefly in a Facebook post on April 30th, and I want to thank him for doing so, and to you as well if this issue was brought up in a previous meeting that I didn't know about. As much as I appreciate the acknowledgement of this incident, he goes on to say that his hands are pretty much tied and he can't do anything because of Congress, that the health and safety of the residents he represents will have to be put on hold until D.C. can figure out how to tie their shoes without offending their fingers. You have all been placed in a position of responsibility by people that are depending on you for their safety and for the betterment of their community. But I came here because I wanted to appeal to a bigger responsibility that you all bear. You have all been placed in these positions by the Almighty God. You have been placed here to reward the righteous and punish the wicked. That is your primary objective as one in such position. Romans 13 says, "For rulers are not cause of fear for good behavior, but for evil." Do you want to have no fear of authority? Do what is good, and you will have praise from the same. Can I get 10 more seconds?
Go ahead.
All right, I'll just wrap up. Governing bodies exist to serve those they govern over. And I want to encourage all of you to uphold what is right and what is fair, and to do so without the fear of red tape or of corrupt bureaucrats thousands of miles away. Honor God with your title and serve those who entrust their well-being to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Herman Coomans. I have a mooring, some more mooring talk. I just wanted to give an example of what will happen once you okay the new rates. I have a 50-foot boat on a mooring. I'll be paying close to $9,000 a year. The way I understand it, you've okayed a couple meetings back a 100-foot dock, new dock, for a 100-foot super yacht, mega yacht, whatever. He'll be paying, if I have my figures right, about $900 a year. I'll be paying for a 50-foot, maybe $100,000 boat, 10 times more than this super yacht out near the mouth of the bay. I don't know. It just doesn't seem right. At first, I was upset just because of the 400% increase and what that'll affect me on Social Security. When I heard what the homeowners are paying, it just can't be fair and right. And they're judging our rates on what the new licensing that the city is, the new moorings that they're renting out. And they're judging our fare on that. Well, docks, homeowners, the ones that rent, are renting for as much as, for a 50-foot boat, as much as $4,000 a month. They're not paying anywhere near that. So if the city can rent their new moorings for, say, $800 for a 40-foot or a 50-foot, and they're going to charge us that because it's comparable, then it seems like the residential piers should be paying a comparable fee to the city market rate, as much as $4,000. Just some thoughts.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Next speaker, please.
Adam Leverins again. As I think you're all aware, tomorrow afternoon is the first annual State of the Bay Luncheon put on by the Newport Harbor Foundation. The promotional materials I've seen had indicated that all of you were going to be there. I understand that that is not accurate. At the luncheon, there's going to be a presentation from the harbor master on the materials and also updates on the mooring seafield realignment and the rental increase that people are so concerned about. I've previously, I think back in January, encouraged all of you electeds to attend Harbor Commission meetings so that you could be fully informed of what was going on. Had some discussion with that with Chair Scully and Mr. Harp, and his inclination in an email, he stated, "It's very easy to violate the Brown Act in these situations, therefore I would not recommend that they attend the meeting." The VIP reception and lunch tomorrow is $1,000. Lunch tickets are $500. Most of the people to be affected by what's going on there or the updates don't have the resources to attend that. I still encourage you, don't miss out on a lunch. I trust you folks to have integrity. I know Ms. Klein's an attorney, Ms. Grant's an attorney. I think you can distinguish between what you can and can't say in such a function. But just give the other side opportunity. The things I've heard out of the Harbor Commission are easily refutable, so many of them. And I think just be fair and look at all the evidence. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Mayor O'Neill, members of the council, my name again is Jim Mosher. And having previously identified myself as an appointee on the General Plan Advisory Committee in light of the resolution you just passed, I think I am now obligated to say the opinions I am about to express are my own, although not necessarily strictly my own. What I wanted to say is in connection with the general plan and amendments to it, 2 days from now on Thursday, the Airport Land Use Commission is going to be reviewing and making a decision about a staff recommendation for amendments to the general plan, some portion of which may be going on the ballot in November, although this staff recommendation is something that has never actually formally been seen by or discussed by the City Council. I understand from a staff presentation that 2 weeks from now, you will be entertaining an agenda item to consider overriding the likely rejection of this proposal by the Airport Land Use Commission. What I would like to strongly recommend is that 2 weeks from now, you not only consider overriding the Airport Land Use Commission, but also asking yourself, having never officially seen this before, whether there are any other options that would be less offensive to the public that you might put on the ballot in November. I think it's very important that you have that discussion and have an open and public communication about what possibilities are available. From the staff presentation I saw, this would be coming to you on July 23rd with only sort of the last meeting before you have to make the decision to put it on the ballot. Making last-minute decisions are not good things. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment on non-agenda items? All right. We'll go ahead and move into our regular agenda. Item number 10, termination of a non-exclusive franchise agreement for commercial solid waste. Perhaps a very brief report on what has transpired since the last time we were here.
Good evening, council. Good evening, council members. And
that's not working.
It's not working. Press.
Just tap it.
Test.
Yep, there you go.
Good evening, council members and Mayor Will O'Neill. My name is John Salazar, Acting Deputy Director for Public Works. With me is Charles Springer, and we're here for the continuation of the item terminating exclusive franchise agreement. Charles has a presentation.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to present. Regarding the update.
A little closer.
Sure. Regarding the update, there has been some progress, but we're still finding non-compliance. So it is a concern of ours. We have been going through this for a while now. So with that, we would like to resolve. Outstanding issues include tonnage from backhaul from 2023, in addition to written documentation of attempts to implement a source separation program for interior containers. Key Disposal provided a narrative, but they did not provide written documentation between the store and them. Written documentation of attempts to implement a recycling program that included an external container. Again, there was narrative provided, but there was not written correspondence between the hauler and the store. I was able to contact the store. With that, we were able to corroborate that they did make contact for an interior program, but the external program they were not. That's where we're at.
How many secondary tier haulers do we have?
We have 2 tiers. We have 8 on tier 1, which is fixed route, which Key Disposal would fall within. And then we have 21 haulers total, most of which are on the tier 2, which is temporary bin drops. And Key Disposal also qualifies for that.
So are we looking at terminating their franchise for both the tier 1 and tier 2?
The press for termination was for tier 1 specifically, but yes, we'll go with tier 1. Due to the fact that we are working on a corrective action plan with commercial implementation, and that was the focus for the implementation.
So if we terminated this off tier 1, would they still have a tier 2 franchise agreement?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. I know the owners here, so why don't you come on up and give us your side on this one?
Council members.
So I'm sorry.
Mayor O'Neill,
there you
council
go.
members. Again, I want to thank you again for the opportunity to speak. I'm John Katangian, the owner of Key Disposal. On the task that staff has given us, we've met the requirements. Some of the things I cannot meet is what goes on internally with the store. My company has no control of what the store employees do. Even though the store has all the tools and everything they need in place, if an employee puts something in the wrong receptacle, I have no control of that. Some other things I have no control over is the internal backhaul agreement. The store doesn't provide me with information on their vendors and their arrangements to market their commodity, the waste. So I think some of this stuff is just out of my control. One of the things, too, is this is one location. And to be real candid, it's not going to make or break my company. But being terminated is going to injure my business by injuring my reputation. We've done everything. We've gone the extra mile. We've reached out to the store. The only thing I can do is, if they're not doing it right, bring it to their attention, tell them what they need to do to stay compliant, and then move on. If they don't, then we can brief staff on it. But I think we've done everything and met all the criteria for these different tasks.
Yeah.
And
So let me ask it this way. So the reason we're here is because I wanted to make sure we were being fair and we were going through a whole process on this. One of the challenges on our side is we've got a state government agency that is really on top of us on this, and it wouldn't be fair to the rest of our haulers, nor would it be fair to the city for us to be showing our own non-compliance with state requirements that are expressed in the franchise agreement. And so the problem and you're not the only one that we're making sure we're pushing really hard on the compliance side. You're also not the only one who has difficult customers from time to time. But on our side, the customer side is your decision. If you wanted to terminate the relationship with them, if you wanted to enforce contract terms with the customer. But for us, these are not our standards that we have created. These are standards that the state's created that we're obligated to follow. And if we don't follow, we can get fined pretty heavily, and all of our taxpayers are on the hook for that. And so this is a reason why we're so we push so hard on this. I respect what you're saying about the termination side. And I will say that if you don't want to take the risk of running through this council meeting right now and running through the termination side, we'll give you the opportunity to give up the tier 1 hauling agreement so that there's nothing on your record at the city level of a termination. But I want you to at least take that into consideration before we vote tonight, whether that's something that you would actually want from us. And if you need, and so I'd like to at least offer that consideration up to you. I don't have any idea. I'm not going to take a straw poll. I'm not going to do this because I still need to hear from you, and I still need to hear from public comment. But given everything that we're kind of working through here, and given the time, and given our staff's recommendation on this, it's going to be hard for us to maintain this. So I want to at least throw that out and see what your thoughts are, because I've seen the record. I don't agree that you've met the qualification or you've met the requirements of our contract. And I think we've bent over backwards. I've seen what our staff has done between the last time and this time. They've done a lot. They've gone on site. They've really spent a lot of time on this to try to get you there. I don't think you're there, based on what I've seen in the staff report, and based on what I just heard. So I want to offer that up as a, it's not, we haven't voted yet, but I do want to say if it was decided tonight that you weren't there, I understand what you're saying. So that's why I'm trying to figure this one out.
Well, I'll accept that.
So your intention then would be to withdraw from tier 1. You still have the tier 2 franchise agreement.
That's fine. I'll accept that.
I'm sorry, accept what?
I'll accept that, the tier 2.
Oh, as in, okay. I'll tell you what, why don't you take a seat for just a moment then, and let me do this, go to public comment on this. I'm going to probably have to ask our city attorney a couple questions before I do that, and then we'll work with you in just a moment. So, Mr. City Attorney, based on what you just heard, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think it's feasible that we can go work out a process for him to just basically give up the tier 1 franchise, if he voluntarily wants to do that.
Okay. All right. Why don't we go out to public comment on this one then, this specific item? Okay. We'll bring it back up. Why don't you come on back up for just a moment? Does anyone, council members, wanted to ask any more questions on this? Okay. So here's what we're going to do then. I'm about to make a motion that does not include termination, but it does say that we would be coming back to the next meeting if for some reason we weren't able to work through on a voluntary relinquishment of tier 1. At that point, this would be up for termination. So if there's a voluntary relinquishment, so that you're giving up tier 1, but you get the tier 2, then we wouldn't have to come back to the council meeting. But if for some reason in the next couple weeks we can't resolve that, then it'll come back for termination. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
All right.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that this be continued to the next meeting, but taken off if voluntary relinquishment is accomplished beforehand. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilmember Wygan. Any others? All right. Let's go ahead and vote.
The motion carries 6-0.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right. We're going to move into item number 11. And go ahead and take a brief staff report on this one.
Well, good evening, Mayor, Council. Excited to come to you tonight to talk about an important project as we're moving through what we call the concept development phase. So tonight we have we have a lot of players tonight because, as you know, this is a multi-department project with a lot of moving parts. So the main player tonight will be Tom Sanford. He is our assistant city engineer sitting at the table with our architect tonight and will be leading the presentation. But we will have folks in the library. If you'd like, we have the fire folks available for discussion, also the recreational folks and our parks folks here to talk to you about the various components. So I'll turn it over to Tom for the presentation.
Thank you, Dave. Like Dave said, my name is Tom Sandifer. I'm your assistant city engineer with the Public Works Department. And we'll be just going through some slides on the Balboa Library Fire Station Replacement Project. Just to orient ourselves, in case you didn't know, the library and fire station is located here at Balboa and Island Avenue. This is the existing facility. The fire station is on the right-hand side. The library is on the left-hand side. You can see a little curb cut down there where the fire engine can go out in that median. And then the parking, limited parking in the back there. A little background and history. Both these facilities were built between 1929 and 1962. There's been a lot of additions, a lot of things that have been put on there, a lot of maintenance has gone into it. But during our last facility condition assessment, both facilities came out as poor, and they are listed in our facilities finance plan for replacement. So Public Works worked with the library, the fire department, our own Public Works staff, and rec to develop a wish list of what we would want to put on this site, given the opportunity. The tier 1 things that we were looking at or to review the trees' health, to modernize the fire facility, to get a neighborhood scale library on that site. And then some of the additional things we'd look at are recreation components like a playground. Public parking is always something that's people are looking for, and getting access to in front. Possibly include some Public Works maintenance and equipment and storage over there, because Public Works stashes barricades, sandbags, cones, equipment all over the city. One of the places we do not have a large store of equipment to respond to emergencies is down there on the peninsula. So this is a good opportunity to get that. Timeline up to now, we got under contract with Jeff Katz and his core team back in January. We worked for about a year to develop our plans here, and went to the January Board of Library Trustees meeting. That followed a PB&R meeting in March, and we're here at City Council today. And you can see moving into the future, if we move forward tonight, we'll be able to go summer 2025, and if we're lucky, fall 2025 for construction. We had a public notification process on all of these public meetings. We've posted things. We sent out notices for this meeting and the PB&R meeting to a 1,000-foot radius around it. I've kept an email list of interested parties who've gotten in touch with me. Let them know when these meetings are and what to expect. Opportunities for public input. This is the third public meeting we've had on this project. We've had Library Board of Trustees, PB&R, and this. This is just how we do at our design development. Just real quickly, it started with nothing, blank slate, just programmatic boxes with square footages in them and how we arrange them on the site. As we talked and developed, we're able to put in more details until we get to what we have tonight, which is a functional fire station of about 5,000 square feet, a library, 3,600 square feet, that has all of the things we're looking at. Public Works storage facility is on 2 of the options that we're showing you guys tonight. Some of the input we've received from the public is that they don't think it's an appropriate place for a Public Works storage facility. So after the PB&R meeting, we had Jeff go back and develop a site plan that deleted that, so that we could see what it would look like, what we would gain from not having that Public Works site. And all of these plans increase our parking down there, which is, again, something that is desperately needed. This is in your staff report, but this is just a comparison of all of the options and what we have in the existing facility. As you can see, we'll see option 1 and option 2 have our Public Works storage. Option 1A does not. You can see that Public Works storage area goes to mostly the landscaping, mostly more open space, opens up the site a little bit. And when I talk about Off-site parking, this is what we gain by flipping that fire station from the right-hand side to the left-hand side. We get to close up that median a little bit. We gain some spaces there. The green boxes are spaces gained. The brown boxes are spaces that would be removed. If you see up on Bay Avenue as well, the 3 spots up there are where we're closing up some redundant driveways. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Jeff to talk about the options.
Thanks, Tom. Good evening. Pleasure to be here this evening. I'm Jeff Katz with Core Design Group. We put this presentation together to walk you through the various options that we've developed to date. As Tom said, we've developed many different options. We've narrowed this down to 2 options that were presented at previous meetings, and then the third option that we added after PB&R. So we're calling this option 1. The fire station is located on plan left in this layout, with the library on plan right, with the return to the fire station off of Island, and then the parking that backs up to Bay Street that would serve the library. So we do have dedicated parking in a secure area for the fire station itself. In this plan, the Public Works garage is that long, slender space in the center that you see there on the ground floor. The library entry would be off of the parking on the Bay side, Bay Street side, and the fire station entry would be on Balboa there. And then we have the playground that we're still working through the details on the design of, that is located off of the parking area and accessible to the library as well. In this scheme, the fire station consists of a second story of bunk rooms and living functions over that center core that on the ground floor included the Public Works yard. So none of the fire station space will be over the library space. We've kept the library space as a single-story element. And then we do have a small deck area that opens off the front of the station for the firefighters for barbecuing and so on. So as Tom said, we did develop option 1A, which eliminates the Public Works yard. So in this scheme, we were able to get a little more planting area on the Island Street side, modified the parking for the fire station itself, and modified the overall layout of the building. So now this is slightly reduced in overall square footage. The second floor, again, resides directly over that same footprint that it did previously. So again, not building anything over the library portion.
Yeah, I'm going to just jump in right here. And for both options 1 and 1A, we've received some input from the public that I want to address. One piece of input was a request to separate the alley entrance from the public parking entrance. And what this scheme that we have up here is a little more efficient. You lose some parking because, again, you're adding redundant curb cuts into the plan if you separate them out. And this sort of combined entrance is similar to what we have at Corona Del Mar Fire Station and at Marina Park. There's a little bit of that too. We don't anticipate seeing a huge, increase in people going down that alley or using it as a cut through. It's much more comfortable for most of the people to go out onto Bay Avenue or onto Island Avenue to get where they're going. So, that's not, we looked at it, but the sacrifice of the parking was kind of unnecessary and inefficient. In addition, there was a question about frontage. So all of our schemes have the library fronting, not fronting Balboa. And one of the questions was, well, why can't we front Balboa? And it's because working with the library, they appreciated the quieter side, fronting it sort of up in the thing here. You still have access. You can go from Balboa. There'll be a little walkway, a little landscaped walkway that'll get you to that front front door, but it's quieter, more neighborly, more fitting in with the neighborhood that we're up there.
Thanks, Tom. So this is again, the second floor in option 1A for the fire station. And then option 2 turns the building to front onto Island. So again, we've kept the fire station planned south here, closer to the intersection. And the entry to the fire station there is off of Island. The library is up towards Bay, and we have, again, the entry to the library, again, fronts onto the parking. This provides access to that parking from both Bay and from Balboa. We do lose some public parking spaces in this scheme. This scheme also includes the Public Works Yard. If option 2 is a more desirable solution, essentially the same footprint that you saw in option 1A would be applicable in this scheme as well. And so again, second story for the fire station itself, slightly different in this layout, but again, not over the library. For both of these schemes, we developed essentially 2 different exterior design concepts for the stations. The first we called the cottage house option, and this was based on some similar elements found elsewhere in the city. And so this is a rendering from Balboa of what we called option 1. So this scheme does include the Public Works Yard and that large door in the center there, the fire station red doors on the left, the library signage with the access from Balboa on the far right there down the walkway to the back. And then this is a view from the parking off of Bay with the entry to the library there right in front of you and the playground slightly off to the right. And then this is the view of the secure fire station parking area and fire apparatus return drive. This is that view without the Public Works garage. So this is that same cottage style for option 1A. And again, this opens up a little bit more room on the left-hand side, that walkway through from Balboa, but essentially the same design concept. And again, from the secure parking. The second alternative that we looked at, we called natural modern. It was different materials and different building forms to provide an alternative solution for consideration. And so this is looking at option 2. So again, this is the version that fronts onto Island. You see the fire station doors there on the right, the door to the Public Works shop there in the center, and then the back side of the library is off on the left-hand side in this rendering. This is the view to the library entry off of Bay, and then the actual entry to the library from the parking area behind.
Thank you, Jeff. And then Director Hartson to discuss the library playground outdoor programming opportunities.
Good evening, Council. Melissa Hartson, your Library Services Director. Just to briefly give you a little bit of background of when the Board of Library Trustees started in on this project. In 2021, the Board of Library Trustees formed a Balboa Branch Replacement Ad Hoc Subcommittee. And then in 2022, under the guidance and direction of the board, staff developed and issued a community survey to solicit input from our Balboa Branch users. So since 2021, of the formation of this ad hoc subcommittee, the entire Board of Library Trustees has received monthly updates at its regularly scheduled meetings for the project regarding information from the ad hoc subcommittee meetings and from staff. And so then that takes us to where we're at today with these concepts before you. The floor plan for the new library is functional and efficient, and an efficient use of space, meeting contemporary needs, contemporary patron needs. It incorporates a streamlined patron experience and integrates technology that's scalable, flexible, and most importantly, accessible. The facility will have a centralized layout with improved sight lines, increasing the ability for our patrons to find and access relevant resources. And in taking a look at our current collections and resources available, our data analysis suggests that if all of the currently used shelves were completely filled with library materials, only half of the existing shelf space in the branch would be required for the current location. Further statistical analysis indicates that 20% of the nonfiction collections at our Balboa branch are overstocked. This means that there are 20% more books on various subjects that the demand and usage requires. Comparatively, at all three of our other library locations, they are at 10% or less in overstocked in their nonfiction collections. On the flip side, we have our fiction collection, and at our Balboa branch, the fiction collection is sufficiently stocked. However, we are not using all of the available shelf allocated for those fiction collections. So the collection is serving the needs without filling every available shelf in our fiction sections. So our new facility will integrate a more efficient layout with optimal resource allocation, ensuring reference services are meeting the needs of patrons effectively and cohesively. In addition to providing a useful and relevant collection, there is a need for updated technology infrastructure that can adapt to different user preferences and demands. We are currently seeing approximately twice the demand for patrons at Balboa using their own devices and connecting to Wi-Fi versus using the library's own computer resources. Our new infrastructure will provide flexible solutions to evolve with our changing technology needs and to meet the demands of patrons' needs. I'd also like to focus in on our programming element down at the Balboa Branch Library. Over the past 4 years, we've seen an increase in programming attendance at our Balboa Branch Library. In response to that, we have added new programming throughout the year. And over this past year, the first 3 quarters of this fiscal year, we've seen attendance exceed levels from fiscal years 17-18 and 18-19. So we are exceeding program attendance pre-COVID. With the added element of the playground and outdoor program area, we will have an increase in usable space. We'll be able to reach a broader audience, and we encourage learning opportunities that extend out into a playful environment. It gives the library an opportunity to develop, introduce, and highlight new programs and services. And we will continue with our programming to reinforce early literacy and lifelong learning goals in our programming, integrating the early literacy practices of read, talk, sing, play, and write. Overall, in conclusion, an outdoor program area and playground enhances the patron experience by expanding our services, improving accessibility, and providing flexibility in programming as an extension of our indoor operations that we are already conducting. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. The fire department also has a facility here. They have been very flexible and very supportive of either of these options. Their preference, I believe, is for option 1, just for maneuverability, getting in and out of that location. One of the things that I want to bring to your attention is that we will need a temporary fire station during the construction of this facility. We don't know exactly where it's going to go. We're still exploring the options. The most obvious ones are down here in the Balboa Pier parking lot. There may be others. We're still looking, and that will come back to you guys at a different date. Okay, trees. Just to reorient yourselves, this is option 1, showing where the existing trees, the 2 landmark trees are. Up in the top left there, you can see our eucalyptus tree. And in the bottom right, inside the library, is the location of the existing palm tree. And same thing for option 2. We've got the existing eucalyptus tree, that location of where it would be overlaid over site 2. And I'm going to turn this over to Kevin Bakar for the rest.
Good evening, Mayor O'Neill, Mayor Pro Tem Stapleton, council members, the public, city staff, and present. I'm Kevin Picar. I'm the Parks and Trees Superintendent for the City of Newport Beach. And I'm going to be presenting on the existing trees at the site. Like Tom mentioned, we have 2 existing landmark trees. This first one on this slide is our Canary Island date palm. It's the largest one there. The other 2 probably weren't incorporated into the special tree list. They were probably much smaller as the special tree list was incorporated many years ago. There were 2 other landmark Canary Island date palms, and they died from the fusarium disease that they're prone to get. They were completely dead, and we removed those. And those died from fusarium too. So, and this is our current eucalyptus, our blue gum eucalyptus tree, current shot of it. There were 2 other landmark eucalyptus trees on the site. Some background on the site. This was one of the last ones that we had to remove. It was tested in 2022 in December, and in August of 2023, it was tested again, and it rose from 17% rot to 43% rot. And the threshold where we're concerned about trees, and we usually recommend the removal of a tree, is at 30%. That's kind of the industry standard. So this was presented to the PB&R Commission on November 7th, 2023, and it was removed 30 days later per policy on December 7th, 2023. So we did some follow-up background just to prove the tomography, to see it was accurate. And you can see the fungi there in the area where the tomography was taken, the white fungal bodies. And so we can see that this is a proven method, that the fungus and the soft spongy wood was in the exact same location where the tomography read that it was 43% rotted. And then, so now I'm going to get into the prognosis of the remaining blue gum eucalyptus tree on the site. That was examined during the same time frame, December 2022 to August 2023. During the 9-month span, it went from 2% rot to 7% rot, which is over 3% in that three times in that 9-month span. This decay will continue to increase exponentially, given that same kind of rate. We're expecting it to reach that threshold within about 5 years. So again, the high risk rating is 30%, and so we're expecting it to reach that in about 5 years. And just know that rot, both with the fusarium, with the palm, and with this pink rot or brown-white rot with the blue gum eucalyptus, it's irreversible. It's non-treatable. And experts say the best way to decrease the amount of rot or decrease the spread is to keep the tree healthy, to not disturb the site, which brings me to my second point. If we were to keep this tree, and even with the best preservation methods available, we would still impact the tree. There's presumably roots underneath the footing of the existing building, roots underneath the parking lot that you can see there to the left. Those roots would be impacted. There would be root pruning. There would be a lack of consistent water and nutrients. There would be compacted soil from heavy equipment. So that tree would definitely be impacted, even if we use the best protection methods. I don't think you'll find an arborist that wouldn't disagree with that. And so also, this tree, as you can imagine, the root system goes out past the drip line. About a quarter of the site would be unusable for construction if we were to preserve the tree. And then there's the prognosis for the existing landmark Canary Island date palm. Same thing. It would be impacted by construction. It would probably likely decline and die within the next 3 to 5 years from the fusarium infection. It likely already has the fusarium infection. We're noticing the signs of it where you have healthy fronds on one side of the leaf and then dead fronds on the other side of the leaf. So there's been a lot of talk about birds and the birds nesting in the tree. One thing I want to reiterate is we wouldn't be removing the trees during nesting season, so there would be no birds displaced during nesting season. The Migratory Bird Treaty Act would preclude us from doing that anyway. Many people are wondering, what are going to happen to the herons that are there now? Where are they going to go once they're not nesting? Well, we have a lot of opportunities for the herons to go to other locations. We've consulted our biologist, and he ensures us that herons are opportunistic nesters and that they'll look for other nesting grounds within their range, which can be up to 30 miles. And we have a lot of other city trees that are nearby, also blue gum eucalyptus trees that have been used for nests in the past and have nesting currently. And with that, that's the end of the tree presentation.
Thank you, Kevin. Just to recap what happens at the Board of Library Trustees and the PB&R Commission. The Board of Library Trustees held a public meeting and supported option 1 and the cottage style. The PBR Commission approved the removal of the 2 diseased trees outside, the removal of the 2 diseased trees outside of nesting season, but no sooner than September of 2025. And once those trees are removed, we're required to report back to the Commission with our findings on the health of the trees once they've been removed to further validate our tomography scans. The Commission also expressed a preference for that layout 1 and the cottage house theme. The schedule and cost. If we were given the go-ahead tonight to move forward on an option, a layout, and a theme, we'd start final design work. We're looking to get this out in about a year, with construction to begin that fall of 2025. Our estimated construction cost is $16 million, which is a much larger number than I'm sure we were expecting. We continue to see pressure in the construction industry driving up the costs. Our all-in costs are $17 million, which includes design, construction report, testing, all that good stuff. I'm not including the cost of the temporary fire station yet because we don't have enough information to make a good judgment on that. There's a review of the recommendations that are in your staff report, and we're happy to take questions.
And Council, if I could, just before we go to questions, I did want to tie in the tree concern. We've had a lot of discussion and questions. You've seen a lot of public concerns, but I want to tie the conversation in for the public, those joining us tonight who haven't really followed this project. We've had several public reviews, but if you remember the first slide we talked about where the working group for the council and the staff got together and looked at the site, we assessed the trees early on to make sure what health they were in to decide whether we should try to save trees or we should work with trees. The city is very passionate about our trees. We have over 35,000 public trees, and we do our best. Kevin and his arborists really work hard to keep our trees. Some trees just get to the point where we can't. So that assessment was done early. That's what Kevin pointed out, those x-rays of those trees, and that's why some were removed. They're all in a disease state, and that's why tonight you're seeing a decision, too, that staff's recommending to go ahead and produce a project that removes those trees because we're building a long-term project for, we know now the trees have a very short time frame in their window. So I just want to add that context to the point and tie those items together. And Council, will turn it back to you for any questions.
Mr. Avery.
Thank you. No fire pole.
They stopped
So
those.
a year and a half ago, the council, some of us on council went and visited the fire station, and I'd never gone down a fire pole before, and it was tougher than it looked. You know, they're pretty large diameter, and you've got to have a good grip on it, otherwise you're going to accelerate pretty quickly.
Yep.
And but we didn't have our turnout gear on.
Right.
Basically, the suits got rumpled up a little bit. I'm just really happy that Balboa got to retain its library and its fire station. Obviously, the fire station wasn't going anywhere. The library was, you know, to me, that was maybe at risk a little bit, but I really like the direction of that. I think it's really great that somebody figured out we don't want to be on Balboa Boulevard and face away. And also the wind and the sun is always on that side too. So when you're opening a door and just the light all day, so facing away toward Island Avenue, that is really good. So I think it was a good choice all around. I have a number of folks I know on Island Avenue, and the neighborhood is not, it's a tough thing to lose, basically legacy tree, and the nesting grounds are great, and the residents love the library, love the fire station, and love the trees. And there's been a lot of, it's just, you're losing something, and but you're gaining something. It's just going to be a better facility for everyone. And I just have questions about, the way things are going. We're looking for shade all the time. And so are these trees, Kevin, are they going to be fairly fast-growing shade trees, or are they going to be somewhat limited in that way?
Well, we haven't decided on the species yet, but we can pick trees that have broad canopies that are rapid growers.
Right. Yep. I mean, that's just my opinion. I'm kind of a tree person, and my house stays shaded all the time by the giant Chinese elm that's in front, along with a couple of city ficus trees that tear up my driveway, and crew's been out there to repair it once. So, but a lot of effort has gone into this, clearly, and I think it's a great project. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments up here? Questions?
Mr. Webb, there was a comment from one of our former council members, Don Webb, and Don is very passionate about a city seal that is in your public works yard, and it's being refurbished, and it's from the original city hall down on where the mayor's table is and the Lido House Hotel is, and would there be a site at this location that we could place the refurbished city seal that former councilmember Webb has reached out to me and asked be placed in a city location? Do we think there might be a spot for it there, or could we entertain a spot for it there if it's feasible?
I believe we can. And the seal the Councilmember Wigan's referring to for the audience, the seal in the upper wall in the council chambers there, that is the city seal. That's a 5-foot diameter seal. We have one that is an 8-foot diameter seal from the original city hall. It is refurbished. It could probably be worked into the site if this council so wishes. It'd have to be worked on a wall, maybe it's indoors, outdoors, if you wanted to see that. I don't have a picture of that seal tonight, but if that's where you'd like to put it, I know former Mayor Councilmember Webb has a couple sites, one being here, one maybe being there. But if you wanted to try to put it into this project, we could do that too.
I think it's just worth looking at. I don't think we have to commit to it. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. But if there is a spot to it, maybe the council, and if we discuss it later, comes up that there could be a spot for it there. If not, we'll look for other sites.
And if that's the case, what I might suggest, because there might be some revisions to the concept plan, we do have a council working group, which you're on that. We could look at that, and you could make the evaluation should the council, the full council, give you the decision to put the seal there or not and report back or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's just a cool piece of history that actually has the seal the correct way. The one on the wind is blowing with the sailboat.
It has the flag the correct
and
direction.
And the flag
like
is going the opposite way in one of the seals, and this one has it going in the correct way. So I thought it was pretty interesting from a city historian perspective of former Mayor Webb. So I'd appreciate it if anyone has any interest in it. I do.
Actually, I do too now. Any other any other comments up here or questions? Okay. We're going to go out to public comment on this. If you plan on speaking, could you raise your hand? That's a lot of comments. You know what? We'll stick to 3. If you hear folks making the exact same comment that you did, it would be greatly appreciated if you recognize that and perhaps were a little efficient. So if you're planning on speaking, why don't you come on forward and then use both mics for me, please.
Good evening, Council. My name is Steve Abraham. I've had the blessed opportunity to grow up on the peninsula, or my children to grow up on the peninsula. They were all got to go to Newport Elementary and grow up going to that library. It's a beautiful library, and it's a magical place. I know whatever architectural structure you guys just approve and design, there will be a beautiful architecture. Look at this beautiful City Hall building. I saw a little note on a tree or a pole a few days ago, because I still frequent that location at least 3 times a week, to preserve that eucalyptus tree. I'm here to speak on behalf of the eucalyptus tree. Usually I'm pro-development. My background is real estate. I represent a lot of a family office that develops a lot of properties in Orange County. But that is a little magical place. Unless you know that tree, eucalyptus trees, as we know, a lot of them were removed off the peninsula a long time ago. The roots are bad for the pipes. They were not ideal to build in the city, but that's one of the few that are left. And those herons, they're loud and they're obnoxious. And the tree used to be very large. If you parked in the street, you'd get your car usually decorated by the herons. The trees somehow been trimmed down so that they don't have as much space. Maybe they're decaying. Maybe they're dying. As all of us, that tree was there, before the city council. And he here was on the city council, and long before people are gone. I would ask that you please consider designing around that tree. Keep that tree. It's a really beautiful, beautiful, special, magical
all right,
tree.
hang on. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know some of you perhaps have not been to a city council meeting before. So clapping and applauding is actually not appropriate and prohibited by policy. So don't worry. I'm sure that we're going to hear a lot of comments like that, but go ahead, sir.
Sure. The herons, they have to be in a tall tree like that. It's the only place they feel safe. They're large, they're loud. But I don't know where else, anywhere on the peninsula where they could even go. They would go 3 and 5 miles away to find another place. They've been there for a long time. Like I said, I know when you go back to the design table, architects, designers, they can do whatever you demand of them. We do it all the time. You can say, protect that tree. And in terms of real estate, like I said, I'm very involved in real estate. 20 years from now, we're going to have asphalt jungles everywhere. 90% of cars sit, they don't drive. And 20 years from now, whether you like it or not, probably 5 and 10 years, probably 5 years from now when this is done, we're going to have self-driving cars. When the city council meeting ends, you're going to step outside, a car's going to come up and take you home without a driver in it. So what we see in real estate is that we're going to have asphalt jungles. Maybe today it feels like there's not enough parking. I assure you, I promise you, in 20 years from now, we will have asphalt jungles because of self-driving cars. Cars sit 90% of the time. We will not be doing that 20 years from now. Cars will be shared. There'll be a mode of transportation. They'll be automated. You don't need more parking. Today, it might feel like it. 5 years, maybe a little. 10 years, I promise you won't. 20 years, absolutely not. So if that tree is 7 or 2% decaying, so are all of us. It doesn't give you the right to take it down. So I'm here to speak on behalf of the tree. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, Kathy Frazier, Island Avenue. It is clear to me, with the 3 options that we have, that nobody tried to save the tree, period. And I say that because I respect the fact that the librarian got up here tonight and talked about literacy. But if you look at option 1, 1A, or 2, the children's programming room is not connected in any way to the playground. There's no way to get from the children's programming room easily to the playground. So the playground is really not part of literacy. It's just a playground. Which then brings us to the parking lot, where the tree is. The parking lot, who is going to monitor the parking lot? So we don't end up with an RV parked there like we have at Marina Park. So we don't have, I appreciate the fact that you want public parking, but is the parking lot for the library or for beachgoers? And who's going to monitor that? And the third thing, of course, which I mentioned to you the last time, is I don't see anything in any of the projects addressing the boulevard and the safety of children getting to the library, crossing what is the most dangerous crosswalk on Balboa Boulevard. It is absolutely terrible. I appreciate the fact that the police have had more motorcycles in the last month, but they're not enough. It is not enough. And we don't have enough parking control as it is. They get pulled away to Corona Del Mar, they get pulled away to somewhere else, and we don't have them even coming for weeks at a time. So who is going to monitor that parking lot that is taking up where the tree is? That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
My name is Joyce Flower. I began my teaching career in 1970, and I've taught at the elementary, high school, and college level. And I look at this playground that is behind this library or adjacent to the library, and I don't see it as it was originally claimed to be an enhancement. It is a distraction and a diversion. And that same exterior property could be used as interior use. We need larger children's area. We could bring back the museum. There could be other ways that we could incorporate interior space and exclude that outdoor space. I personally see it as a haven for possibly homeless people. Who's going to monitor that? Who's going to monitor the children when they're playing out there, distracting the people who are attempting to read magazines and enjoy the interior space of the library? I would like to make a couple of suggestions as to other use. I don't see a design that allows drive-up book drop-off so that as the population is aging here and that use the library, they would be able to just drive up and drop off their books that they're returning from their car. I also don't see a bicycle parking area. I know that when I went to the library today, there were several other bikes that were parked in the same place that I was parking. So I reiterate by saying that I would like to see the reconfiguration of the playground area to internal rather than external space. I would like to see a drive-through for drop-off and a bicycle parking area. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, I'm Robert Hampton, and my ancestors bought a beach house over 100 years ago on West Bay Avenue, and we've been living there ever since and like it a lot. And one of the things we like is having the herons around and seeing the tree on a basis of biology, just, the living beings coming and going. I heard it mentioned that herons are opportunistic, and yeah, they could live far away. A lot of people commute too and don't like it. So, you have to think of them about in that way too. There is a concept in geology now that we're in the Anthropocene era. That means human beings kind of like are doing more than any other earth force to change the earth. And I think it would be good to back off a little bit and think of things like our heron brothers and sisters. Let's not get too warm and fuzzy about it, but nevertheless, all of us share DNA with those birds and that eucalyptus tree. We have similar stuff. So would be nice to look at it in that way, rather than just think, oh, well, the birds can find a place. Yeah, they can fly. They can find another place to live. You know, down by the American Legion, there's a tree there that, you know, it's just white below it when it's bird mating time and raising the young in, and there's seabirds there, and people have adapted to it. And as far as that tree goes, you know, as a retired physician, sometimes getting a second opinion would be a good idea, you know. I did my residency at UCI in the 80s, and so I'm an anteater, zot, as they would say. The thing I could recommend would be ask some people in various departments there for their take on it. Some of the people that, you know, study animals, flying animals, and see what they say. What could be done to save that tree? Like in Japan, you know, there are millions of trees that have people that treat them like pets. And you can see 1,000-year-old, sakura, the cherry bottom blossom ones. Yeah, I'm done. You got the general idea what I'm trying to say.
I think so. Yeah, thank
Let's
you.
look at things in a new way.
All right. Next speaker, please.
My name is Nancy Remley, and I live at 101 East Balboa Boulevard, directly across the street from the library. And I came tonight to talk about the public storage problem that I thought, and I want to thank you for removing it.
Because it's actually still before us as a potential option, why don't you continue with your public comment?
Well, okay. I misunderstood when you said that it was being removed.
So why don't we,
Well,
I'm sorry, 1 second, ma'am. Why don't we give her back the 30, go back to 3 minutes? I just want to make sure I explain, because I don't want you to misunderstand. So before us, we have 3 options tonight presented to us, option 1, option 1A, and option 2. And so they're presenting that to us, but they're not recommending it to us. So, all right, go ahead and start.
Okay. Well, I would hope that the public work storage would be removed. That's what I would like to see happen. The city has a corporate yard, and it's about 10 minutes away from the library. And I don't know whether or not the equipment that would be at the library would be perhaps landscaping equipment, things like that, smaller things, because you could not have large bulldozers or whatever in there, and I don't think that there is space to put any kind of a other vehicles parked there. So I would think that perhaps the best thing to do would be to keep all of the equipment at the corporate yard. If you store things at the library and then you have to bring a truck down from the corporate yard to load those up, to take them down to wherever you're going to need that perhaps landscaping stuff, then it's an extra step that you don't really need to have. And there are places where if you needed to move some equipment onto the peninsula, you could put some storage at the far east end of the parking lot at Marina Park, or you could use part of Balboa Park, Balboa parking lot as well. And so I would hope that the storage of city things that will not happen at the library. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Michelle Silver, and I've lived in our home for 46 years, and it's about a block away from this project that's going to be going on. I've been in the beginning of this when you first started projecting about the first tree being removed, and realized that that was very important to me, that the last remaining one that is now left still remain. Normally, I was going to talk about a lot of other things, and last time it was recorded that I was the one that brought to mind that there are trees in LA that are over 700 years old. It's documented. And we're just discussing one that's only over 100, even though they say that it has the problems that it has. I was going to speak longer, but I actually left a dying cat at home that is my family pet, so I'm going to appeal to you. The one thing I wanted to do was say, none of you live near where we are, and we're going to be the ones that are going to be affected by this project. We're all in agreement that we want the buildings to be done. We've asked over and over and over again. The one item that we wanted was to keep the tree, the last remaining landmark tree, which the city designated, not us. So I'm going to leave now because I was here thinking this was starting at 5, because I'm hoping my cat is still alive. And I would just like to appeal to all of you to please keep in mind that tree is incredibly important to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Mayor Will O'Neill, fellow city council members, I think you know me, Jim Maloney. I don't just follow the trees around. I actually have 2 properties within 500 yards of this tree. And I'm here today. You're going to hear a lot of passion, but I've attended all of the meetings that you've seen and heard about, and I've gotten the community's feedback. And obviously, you'll hear a lot of passion tonight about these trees. But I'm here just to point out some facts. As a lawyer, we like to look at what is the city's G1 tree policy. You all adopted amendments to the city's G1 tree policy back in February of 2022. So I'm here just to remind the city that it should follow its own G1 tree policy. And I've disseminated copies to you this evening with relevant highlights, pictures of the tree, because I think the pictures that you've seen on the slides don't really do this tree justice. This tree is 125 years old. It has survived without water from the city. There's no sprinklers down there. It's survived with 24 nesting herons up there crapping away. And it's just purely, it's not just a city tree. It's not just a special tree. It's a landmark tree. And what does the city's G1 tree policy say about the special trees? They're categorized as landmark trees because they have historical significance and or contribute to and give character to a location or to an entire neighborhood. Landmark trees are identified by those individual special trees that possess historical significance by virtue of their size, age, location, and species. All special trees shall be retained unless there are overriding problems which will require their removal, such as death, disease, interference with infrastructure, or the creation of a hazardous situation. Prior to any removal of a special tree, the city must comply with the notice and appeal provisions in the city's tree policy unless a special tree is considered so hazardous as to necessitate an emergency removal. I'm just going to jump ahead. Obviously, reasons for removal. The city tree is dead, diseased, dying, hazardous, presents a liability to the city. The trees have been requested to be removed in conjunction with a commercial or residential project, but approval will only be granted if the city tree unreasonably impedes the planned construction. And then lastly, on page 6, removal of a special city tree. And this is the most important language that I'm going to read to you tonight. Special trees other than landmark trees may be considered for removal under the same criteria as standard trees in Section 3 if a full staff report is prepared by Public Works. I'm not going to say that a public staff report has been prepared. It has been prepared. But this is a landmark tree. And the DUDAC report that the city has gotten simply says that the tree has gone from 2% decay to 7% decay. And these pictures don't do it justice. The podium that I am standing at here this evening, Mayor O'Neill, is bigger than this podium. And we're talking about 2% decay to 7% decay. The residents pooled their funds. We hired a professional arborist from out of the area, Bob Booty, impressive gentleman, done work for the city of San Jose and other cities up by Sanford. And there's nothing wrong with this tree today. This tree should be, the cutting down of the tree should be delayed. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Honorable Council, and city staff, and friends and neighbors. My name is Don Abrams. I live on Balboa Island. I've had 3 careers. I was a businessman, I've been a trial lawyer, and real estate broker, and I'm still a real estate broker. But my hobby is I'm a bird watcher. And I ride my bike all over Orange County and San Luis Obispo, where I have a vacation home, and look for birds. And I could tell you that great blue herons are amazing birds. And the Native Americans considered them birds of wisdom and friends. And they're our friends and neighbors. And your city staff says that these birds are opportunistic, but I look on my rides, I'll see a hummingbird on a certain tree, and every time I go on that ride, that hummingbird is there. On the other hand, on the south side of the Back Bay Trail, I noticed the city or county took down a big tree that was a hawk's home, and every time I go by there, no more hawk. On Balboa Island, a neighbor pruned the tree down, and a juvenile night heron, which had been living there for years, is now gone from the community. So I'm not so much a tree lover, although that tree, I've gone over and looked at it, is magnificent, but I'm a bird lover. These great blue herons, they're not opportunistic. They're not looking for a new place to live any more than we would want to give up our homes. We're not opportunistic. We love our homes. The herons love this tree. I've seen several of them I've gone over and looked at. They live there. It's their home, and we're urging you to preserve this as their home. Thank you very much.
Next speaker, please.
Hello, council members. My name is April Strong. I'm a longtime resident of my cherished Balboa Peninsula, renting an original triplex on East Bay Avenue for going on 28 years. My home is my favorite place, and I am deeply connected to its charm. The walls are leftover teak shipwood, the ceiling slatted like a ship's deck. The electricity is outside the walls in poles to deliver the goods, and most of the outlets are upside down because who knew? There is a square patch on the wall in my bedroom where the pot-bellied stove would have released its smoke, and a clawfoot bathtub where I lay back in bubbles and fantasize about all of the long-gone fishermen, flappers, and partiers of the past. Every time I drive out of the neighborhood, I roll past another demolished pile of dreams and history. I see new, overbearing modern buildings replacing the sweet, charming loves I knew. When I attended the March meeting about this project, I had no idea about the new library and fire station proposed. I was merely impassioned about the fate of the tree, as I was devastated by the loss of the other two removed. To learn about the plans gave me great pause, specifically the library plan. As a longtime teacher for NMUSD, now private tutor and early childhood educator, the idea of placing a playground in the middle of a library is honestly offensive. Libraries are for books, reading, exploring, and that is its own fun. The tree, the nests. This is the most important piece. Can we give this tree and its inhabitants some time at the very least? It is my understanding that the library needs a new roof, windows, and AC. To do this now would be giving time not only for creating a plan for future upon which we may better agree, but it would give this precious tree some time, and precious time to the tree as well. So this is my suggestion. Hold these plans. Do some quick fixes. Give this lone tree some space and some time to just see how it can handle whatever possible issue it may have. Remember that our children are counting on us, counting on a future where they may visit the library, focus on the fun and imagination that books can share, cruise outside and visit our heron and witness this stunning example of nature. I share these relevant words from Dr. Seuss's The Lorax because they remind us what can happen if we are too late with our natural world, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot. Nothing is going to get better. It's not.
Next speaker,
Thank
please.
you.
Tara Gilfillan, 421 East Bay Ave. We are nature. The only way to preserve our humanity is by preserving nature. This landmark tree needs to be retested. There is new growth and vegetation all over the trunk. If you haven't seen it, go down there tomorrow, this weekend. Fresh green branches, leaves growing all up and down it. This tree is already fighting back because Mother Nature is resilient. By removing this tree without retesting it, we choose concrete versus nature. We choose destruction versus harmony. We choose to bulldoze and build instead of regenerate and integrate. But most importantly, by removing this tree, we teach our children to disconnect from their own humanity. We teach them to keep their heads down and locked on screens and artificial realities that demand their attention. We teach them to hang out in playgrounds that elicit poor choices. But if we work as a community to preserve this tree, we teach them to look up every once in a while towards all the things that are bigger than us, like this big, beautiful landmark tree. This tree that does nothing but invite us to take a moment from our incessantly busy, overcomplicated, overstimulated lives, to pause and spend some time looking at the branches, smelling the eucalyptus, listening to the herons and marveling at their migration patterns and their nesting. If only we said yes to this invitation, then maybe we would hear the whispers of our ancestors ushering us to breathe deeper into this present moment, to remind us of the interconnectivity between all living beings. The population of the peninsula is 4,500 year-round. In the summer, that skyrockets to 10,000. Consider the magnitude of preserving this tree and creating an educational plaque and a commemoration to not only the sacredness of the nature of our home, but the story of the loyal residents who fought like hell to save this tree. As the kids would say, that would definitely go viral.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, you guys. Can you hear me? Yes, okay. My name's Colin Israel. I live at 502 West Bay. I look directly at the tree and the library. So I'm at West Bay and Island at the corner, and that's my view. The birds wake me up every morning, and they are still squawking when I go to bed at night. They poop on my car. They do all the things that birds do, but they're awesome. Something that nobody's talked about, I'm not going to talk about the tree because I promised I would talk about something different. I want to talk about that site and the fact that it's really a community spot. I look at it all day long, and people are walking by, people are talking, people are connecting, and everybody's looking up. And I think that's something that you lose it, you never get it back. I love the Lorax quote. It's one of my favorite books, and I think that's actually something that we should all be thinking about is what are we doing to this community? The people here live at that library, live at that tree, and I think that should account for something. I do want to say one other thing, and this is just kind of back to kind of the business side of me. Cost is insane for what you guys are talking about. Like, that's a really, really expensive project, and you heard the community. We want our tree. Give the library a makeover, and you're going to save a ton of money, and we get to keep the tree, and we get to keep what we want. Final things, nobody wants a rubber park for kids that lives in that community, so that's kind of a big waste, frankly. We want green space. That's the thing we want. We want green space, we want the tree, we want the birds, we want that nature, and you're taking it away. I do look at the library all day long. I also look at the parking lot that's next to the library all day long, and it's empty all day long. So as you're looking at parking, I know there's requirements legally to provide a certain amount of parking, but the local people don't need the parking. We're walking, we're riding bikes. We don't need parking. Keep the green space.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Maggie Israel, also at 502 West Bay Avenue. I think my husband pretty much said everything that I had to say, and I'm echoing all of my neighbors who showed up tonight. We like the tree. We want to keep the tree. We appreciate the new library and fire station and see the need for those, but would hope that we could come up with a plan that would study keeping the tree. And also, I would like to echo again several of my neighbors that we'd like the green space over playground equipment. There's already playground equipment on the peninsula within walking distance, and we have a huge sandbox on the beach. So we don't really see a huge need for the playground equipment. And if we could preserve whatever green space by maybe eliminating that from the plan and maybe looking at another location for the equipment storage, just to give as much green space and neighborhood meeting area as possible to the site. That would be my request. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good evening. My name is Charles Bell. I am co-owner with my family of 113 East Bay. We're just 2 doors east of the public facility site. And my specific concern tonight is that with the proposed plans in front of you for consideration tonight, that the existing residential neighborhood alley wall separating the public facility from the residential neighborhood should remain unchanged. I'm the save the alley guy versus save the tree. But I've been in discussions with staff since February, and I attended the March Parks and Recreation Commission meeting with essentially the same comments. I believe the existing alley wall serves to separate the residential and the public facilities. Our neighborhood currently benefits from the existing separation, even though we are directly adjacent to the public facility. The existing wall provides a distinct physical separation and should remain unchanged. The proposed plans before you tonight are providing a direct access to and from the library parking lot to the existing residential alley, which will inadvertently intensify the single-lane alley use with increased two-way automobile, bicycle, and pedestrian traffic through the back of our high-density residential neighborhood. The proposed screening and additional landscaping now depicted in option 1A site plan will not provide a significant separation of the residential and public facility uses. Furthermore, staff has suggested that the proposed plans before you provide additional parking. And I provided to staff early on a alternate plan that maintains 14 on-site parking spaces and maintains the existing alley separation wall to remain unchanged. The only parking that would be lost would be one single on-street parking space adjacent to the northerly side on East Bay Avenue. I presented that alternate plan to you in a letter I sent to you earlier today. Please keep the existing alley separation wall. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Chuck Remley. My family has owned the house at 101 East Balboa Boulevard for 3/4 of a century. I've lived in Newport Beach for all of that time. A lot of it in that house. So please allow me to give you a little bit of a historical presentation and my opinion about the project going forward. I was not around when the only library was the E-Bell Club, which was at 500 in the 500 block of West Balboa Boulevard. That's a block from the current library. But when the club got out of the book business, they donated all their books, and that was what the E-Bell Club was all about, was book lending. They donated all their books to the Newport Beach City, and it went to the Balboa Branch Library. Now, that's not the current building. That was a previous building. And that was probably the main library for the city of Newport Beach. because that's what Newport Beach was, so the peninsula. There are a number of playground equipment areas on the peninsula. There's one at the base of Balboa Pier. There's one at the west end of Marina Park. There's one at 14th Street and Oceanfront, which is adjacent to Newport Elementary. But there's only one repository of literary work on the peninsula, and that's the Balboa Library. So I hope that you will conclude tonight that we don't need another play yard. Let's use that square footage to expand the adults and children's sections of the new library. And I would personally recommend that you adopt number 1A.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Marjorie Lovell, and our family has lived in Newport since the 1920s. I grew up on the peninsula, went to that library, and I'm on Team Tree all the way. I did want to acknowledge that you guys made a very compelling argument, and I do understand the need to preserve both the firehouse and the library and do the needed repairs. But I think the importance of that green space, of that historic tree, and of preserving different species is just as compelling as progress. And I just got back from Costa Rica, where I went through a town where they planned around this incredibly beautiful Guanacaste tree that they just rerouted the road to make room and allow this tree to live. And I'm hoping that we can have the same kind of foresight and make space for trees, for birds, and for other forms of life. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
In my opinion, this tree has been a big connection for a bunch of other people. A bunch of people socialize and meet up there, and I've lived near there, and in my opinion, that tree has been a big part of my life, and something that not much people has talked about is the birds. So I know you guys said that the birds can migrate and you wouldn't cut the tree down when it's nesting season. But still, even when it's not nesting season, some of the birds either do it early or late. So either time you guys do it, there still could be eggs in there. And if you cut the tree down, technically that's killing animals from destroying the eggs. And there might be some birds in there that cannot fly. And those types of birds cannot pick up their baby birds and fly them to a whole nother place. So when you chop that down, those other birds will also just be flying, and you will be killing the birds. And our earth is damaged from like so much more than it was before. And cutting down a tree is damaging it even more, and on a flat out basis, killing the birds. So this is why I think we should keep the tree.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Nina Mickelson. I live on 307 Medina Way, and I remember walking to the bay and seeing herons in the bay and in the water, and it was a really beautiful sight, and it makes me really sad that I may not see that again. And when I would describe my neighborhood, I would describe the big, beautiful heron tree, and it was like a part of my neighborhood, and it makes me sad that that's not going to be there anymore. And the library, I played in the library and I named some of the stuffed animals, and it makes me really sad that there might not be any more stuffed animals, or the children's room where I would rock in the rocking chair and read Dr. Seuss's books like for a long time, and I still want to do that, but the library might not be there anymore, which is really sad. So thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name's Helen Mickelson. I live at 307 Medina Way, and I've been there for about 24 years now, I think. I just want to thank you, first of all, for saving the library when Marina Park went up, and I was part of that campaign to save the library when you were developing Marina Park, and I think there was a proposal to move the library down there or have a drop box or something. So thank you for doing that, and I also want to thank the staff for coming up with the 1A alternative that does remove the public works facility. I think at the last meeting that I was at as well, there were, in addition to some discussion around the public works, there was also the discussion that we were having today around the tree and also around the playground. So I was a little bit disappointed that there weren't like 1B and 1C options that also looked at removing the playground, which I don't think I've heard anyone support the playground facility there. And I think there is an opportunity to maybe relook at the site and work around the tree. I understand that there is a disease element to it and that the tree may die or need to come down at some point, but I don't see why we cannot build around that, and at the point that it does have to come down, we can plant another landmark tree in its place, so that hopefully our ancestors in another 120 years can be up here fighting for the for that tree that replaces it. I mean, I think we heard that there's just not that many landmark trees around anymore, and that's just sad. And I understand the issues with disease, but let's create the opportunity to plant another potential landmark tree in this place. And I don't think that the option of building around that and saving that space so that there can be an opportunity for that in the future. So thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Rachel Gabriel. My family's lived block from the library for 50 years, and I'm obviously on team keep the tree, keep the green space, and listen to those of us who live there and use this daily and know what we want to see for the future. There is so much being taken away in Newport, and it's like a runaway train. We're not gonna be able to stop the growth, but this is something of such great importance. And why can't we create like an architectural gift to the community and build something around the tree and let the tree be the learning center for people to come to? I honestly hope that we're not all just speaking to nothing and no one, and that we're being heard and considered, that this tree and the herons, which I think there are many more opportunists than the birds in those trees. I don't think we have to worry about them taking great advantage, but they add so much to our history. And if we can preserve that much of it, it's so appreciated.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Adam Leverance. I've been a seasonal patron at that library for over a decade and a half. I love much about it, regardless of the age of the building and the condition of the building. I believe I heard from staff a challenge to find an arborist who would contest the disease factor. I believe I heard a public commenter say they found one. I'd ask you to consider that. I'd also suggest that maybe rebuild the fire station. Construction methods are such that you could rebuild the fire station and have it ready to integrate a library when the tree takes its natural course. Wait and see what happens. Off different topic, the cost of maintenance for either one of the architectural styles. I'd like to see consideration for if there's a difference in maintaining those going forward. Any trees that are planted under any development, fast growing, as has been mentioned, it won't happen in my lifetime, but it's magical down there. It's like a combination of the Enchanted Tiki Room at Disneyland, and you're watching a Marlon Perkins film for those of us who are old enough to remember Mutual Omaha's Wild Kingdom. And if anybody voting hasn't been down there and spent 10 or 20 minutes in the vicinity this time of year, I really don't think you have a right to vote on the matter. Thank you.
My name is Rick Flower. I haven't seen any
plans that pretty much leave the library where the library is now and the fire station where the fire station is. Since we're pretty much against the playground, that tree can take place of the playground if the library stayed the same and rebuild and build the library on the left and the fire station on the right. And then in regards to the maintenance area, if we're going to build a temporary fire station down on the Balboa parking lot, why can't we store the maintenance equipment that needs to be restored in those temporary facilities and make them permanent after the fire station is built? Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Patricia Hampton, and I've lived on West Bay Avenue 30 years. My husband's family has been 101 years. I drive past that tree every single day, and I have a kind of an unusual suggestion. Why don't the city of Newport Beach take their $19 million and do something that actually the people would rather they do, and not destroy our neighborhood, not destroy the birds, do something else. We all are here. It's a good turnout. We don't want it gone. Listen to us.
All right, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Mayor O'Neill, members of the council, my name is Jim Mosier. First of all, I noticed the formal presentation did not mention that at some point a council working group was appointed. I do not know how that working group got appointed or was created. Bothers me a little bit. Second, in the presentation, we did hear that the PB&R Commission had recommended option 1, layout and the cottage style. The official signed minutes of the PB&R meeting from March have been posted. There is absolutely nothing saying that in those minutes, not even a suggestion of that. The agenda item, they were asked to make a recommendation, but they did not feel it was ready to do that because they did not feel there had been enough public outreach about the layout. They did make a recommendation about the tree to postpone its removal until just before the construction. They did not express an opinion about the layout. The minutes say their official motion was to continue to refine the branch library and fire station site concept plans, the building elevations, and the accompanying recreational components and layout. You have no recommendation from them. And part of that, I think, is exemplified tonight by all the people who wanted to speak. There simply was not, it did not seem any meaningful opportunity to change the plan presented by the city at any of the 2 meetings that were held. The one before the library trustees, nobody even saw the plan until the meeting opened. We have seen exactly one, that I think the tree is important. I think it's been kind of a distraction because there has been no meaningful, real discussion about the layout of the library. You would be tonight approving a floor plan. That is the only floor plan that has ever been presented. In the 2 options, it's the identical plan. In the 3 options, it's the identical plan. I have never heard it explained. I do not know how the layout works. Perhaps the library staff recommended it. I do not know. Maybe the working group recommended it. Maybe the ad hoc committee did. I do not know if it includes, for instance, an option for public desktop workstations that, when available, are much preferred over laptops. I do not know if it includes study rooms and small meeting rooms, which is something that is in high demand but has not been a feature of our other branch libraries. It could be in the plan, it could be not. Several speakers have said that if the storage area is taken away, it could be used for more library internal space. The floor plan has not changed. And it looks too small to me. I don't have a good sense of the scale. There's 2 racks of books. As you probably know, the current library has a nautical collection that looked to me like about half of that shelf space would be needed just to hold that.
Thank
So
you.
I don't think there's been enough discussion. I
All
don't
right.
think that
Thank
floor
you, Jim.
plan is ready for approval tonight.
All right. Next speaker, please. All right. Seeing none, we'll bring it back. So I'll go ahead and start. One of the issues that we've been dealing with for years is making sure that we are looking out at the buildings. And for a very long time, the capital improvement program has included replacing both of these buildings. You saw why. There's not a question in anyone's mind that as we've been working through, that both the fire station and the library need replacement, not rehabilitation, replacement. And so the question that we've been trying to work through as part of this design project has been what it would look like to do so. We do have a successful design that came together as part of the Corona Del Mar Fire Station Library that allowed for a modern upgrade to a fire station, because at the end of the day, that is incredibly important for both our residents and our visitors to work through on the public safety side. The location of a fire station also really matters. We always have to make sure we're working through studies, and this location is such that we need to make sure that we're doing a better job. Our fire station is old, needs to be replaced. I don't think anyone disagrees with that. The library, same thing. It's older, it needs to be replaced. The amount of money it would require to rehab this wouldn't make any sense, because we need to be replacing the fire station as it is, and working through the concept design to make it safer for our firefighters as they're pulling through as well is particularly important. So I do appreciate those design elements into it. This is also, as you can imagine, not our first rodeo with discussing trees. One thing that was not mentioned during this entire presentation, when it sounded like we were being accused of, I think it was asphalt jungles, are the amount of trees that we've actually added onto the peninsula over the last 20 years in Newport Beach. This is something that the Parks, Beach, and Recreation Committee actually talked about. Over the last 20 years, our city's added 684 more trees onto the peninsula than existed before. This has been a city that, obviously takes trees very seriously. Adding them matters, subtracting them requires study. And in this case, it's been done twice annually. In the first one, and I was looking at the minutes, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, but the reason we were even looking at this one in the first place was because we saw signs of rot that had led to the reason we removed 2 of them already. And so when we've done the testing, and we've done it by an arborist that has been trusted in the past and has done a great job for our city, it's not enough to tell us that you can look at a tree and there's not a problem. The arborist doesn't know what he's talking about. We don't have that luxury to do that, because in the past, we have had limbs fall on people. We have had limbs fall on property. We have had major problems with trees like this. You cannot allow for a failure. We can't allow for a failure. And so this is the point of why we do these tests in the first place, to make sure that we're paying attention to the safety concerns as well as what we're working through. And when we're looking at this, and we're looking at the issue of multiple tests showing an exponential growth, plus knowing that we have to replace we have to do this work, it's not feasible for us to be trying to design around a tree that is not going to work for it going forward on this. And so knowing that these are the improvements that need to be made going forward, and knowing that we've worked through our Board of Library Trustees, who we trust on this, and they've unanimously recommended this to us. To Mr. Mosier's point, I don't think that the PB&R made a recommendation to us on the layout, but they did make a recommendation, or they not a recommendation. They approved the removal. This is how the normal process has always worked in our city to move this forward. There's no question the cost is expensive. It's something that we've been saving toward for quite some time, and it probably will require us to set aside most, if not all, of our anticipated surplus this year toward the facilities financing plan. But we were sort of planning on doing that in the first place. So as we're moving forward on this, I do frankly really look forward to having a new library that services families in better ways, that I appreciate Melissa Hartson's approach on this. I appreciate our entire library staff trying to redesign this in a way that they're really excited to serve in, and I know they have. And so I do appreciate that. I appreciate the work that's gone on in the committees below us and the commissions below us. I don't frankly have a particularly strong opinion between 1 and 1A, but I would prefer one of those two. Mr. Weigand.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate your comments. I echo a lot of what you said. I had the opportunity of living on the peninsula in the 1200 block of West Balboa for 11 years, so I had a lot of opportunity to visit that library. But what I didn't get an opportunity to do until being on the council was having a tour of the fire station. And a lot of the comments were heartfelt, related to the tree, related to the library, but I didn't hear a ton about the fire station. And getting to be on council, I get to see things that impact our public safety. And when I lived on the peninsula, every day I'd be either woken up or, when I'm 20 years old, probably taking a nap or probably consuming too much alcohol on the peninsula. But hearing sirens going up and down every day, it made me realize that there's incidents at the Wedge, there's incidents on our beaches, there's incidents in our residences, there's incidents down on the fun zone. There's a ton of activity that having a proper, well-manned fire station brings our residents. And when you need them quickly. And the station that I observed when I went on a tour with my colleague, Councilmember or Mayor Pro Tem Stapleton, is that the facility is run down. It doesn't have proper accommodations. The quarters separating male and female is done by a curtain, so there's not proper bathroom needs. Seeing its workability in that site, it's not functional. And in order to redo it, you have to replace it. And in order to replace it, you have to replace the library. So I recognize that there is a tree there that needs love, but our community also needs love by redoing that fire station, and in the meantime, we'll redo that library. So I support, I would prefer option 1B, the removal of the public works, so that it adds a little additional space to the fire station. I think that is more important. We can utilize another location for our public works equipment. Going to what the mayor said about the trees, the city takes great pride in our trees. In fact, for 34 years, we've been named Tree City USA. And in fact, an item that we were voted on earlier tonight was related to a contract that we have with our tree service provider. And we spend over $2 million annually servicing our urban forests. And we have 2.5 employees that are dedicated to making sure that urban forest is protected. And we have 35,000 public trees across 26 square miles. So, I sympathize with the tree that's there, but we do take great care of our trees, and we are good stewards of our trees in our city. And I just will say to those in the public, my mother is somebody who will be extremely disappointed in my actions this evening. She would be joining you tonight, but I sent her to babysit my kids so I could be here. But I take that to heart, your comments, and I do recognize that we need to protect our environment and protect those species that exist. I'm sympathetic to it, but I just take the greater good of the public when it comes to a redo on our firehouse. And if we start touching that land, we're going to destroy that tree anyway, even if we tried to protect it. So I'm supportive of concept 1A. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Stapleton.
Yeah, you said 1B, but you meant 1A.
Yeah.
I guess there should have been a 1A and a 1B, but there's a 1 and a 1A. So 1A is the one that eliminated the public works facility.
Yeah, got it. All right. Okay. I just want to start by thanking all of you for being here. Thank you for sending your emails. Thank you for being, it's not lost on me that it's a Tuesday night and you're here talking about this, and that means a lot to us in the city of Newport Beach. I think like Councilman Weigand said, we're a city with 35,000 trees, and they all mean something to each of us. So I wholeheartedly agree with my council colleagues up here. I've lived on the peninsula for 20 years now. I lived on 11th Street for a couple years, so I've visited that library, the fire station. Each time we have the Read Across America, I go to that library and I read to toddlers and babies. So I'm very proud of what we have there, and I'm proud of our staff. I'm proud of our fire department, and I'm proud of the work that you guys have put into this. I would certainly be supporting 1A. I've heard you guys. I thought originally that having the public works equipment there would make sense. Message received. I think we can find a different location in that area if we need to store equipment there away from the city yard. So I'd be in favor of option 1A. I certainly like the cottage vibe too. I think it fits the area very well. Could you talk to, I know in the past we've taken down trees. I just wanted to address the young lady's comments about killing birds and nests. I know we have drones that we've utilized in the city before that we fly up, and we certainly inspect these nests to make sure there are no eggs and there are no birds in the trees when the trees do come down. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We would use a drone, and we'd check the tree that there was no eggs in any of the nests before we removed the tree.
Okay, good. And I'd also be proud to acknowledge that I was part of a working group that helped find a new home for the museum. And if you haven't seen the historical museum, I would encourage you to go to the fun zone. It's way better than the space they had before, and kudos to Bernie and his entire team, because they should be really proud of what they've done. But the new Historical Society building, museum, is over at the fun zone. They've done a terrific job. And I think my last comment is just continue to work on the temporary fire station. It sounds like we might have a solution where it's not in a parking lot that is obviously used year-round. So those are my comments.
Mr. Avery.
You know, when I've said this before, but when the China house was torn down in Corona del Mar, that's when I knew the town was changing, that we couldn't somehow come to grips to save such an iconic place that had such a whimsy to it as you go out the harbor. I think most of the people who spoke tonight have lived here for half a century, just about, and the town has gone through such enormous change in the last 20 years, in my view, with just the intensity of the noise, the jet traffic, the car traffic, the housing that's being just built out to the max because people see their houses as investments instead of homes, and they just, tear down a nice little cottage and put something up, which is totally their right, and I don't really have an argument with it. It's just tough to see in your lifetime this kind of change, and this is a part of that. It's going to roll, and I totally support our public safety in terms of our personnel, but also in terms of the facilities that we need to build to guarantee that when you need help, you're going to get a great response. And that involves seismic and all the things that need to go in the building, fire station or police station. They need to be there. And that's just that's the bottom of the pyramid. Has to be there for all of us in our time of need. But I totally get where people are coming from. My boat is just down Island Avenue, and I go there every day. And I agree with everybody about the tree, for sure. And I've got 5 eucalyptus trees in my backyard that are about 100 feet tall. They're tearing up my sewer line as I speak. So, but that's the cost of trees, the maintenance, the litter, the leaves, the birds, all of it. But I think they're worth it. And I think the city does too, because we're planting them all the time. And not just the city, the residents are telling us they value trees, and we are planting them all the time. But it's really sad to see, a landmark tree like this. It's so important to the neighborhood, and it's been there so long, longer than any of us have been around. And it's just tough. It's just really hard. So I really appreciate everybody showing up. And I just think this has been one of my most favorite public comments on this issue tonight. There was such heart in it, and such a evidence of a tight neighborhood, which is the kind of place we want to live. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And I'm for 1A.
Any other comments? I think, Mr. Wagon, you've probably convinced us on 1A, it sounds like. Would you like to make the motion on this one?
Yeah, sure. I'll make the motion on item 1A, and if we could incorporate the city seal that's in the public yard there, that would be nice. If not, I understand we'll find someplace else for it, but it would be nice to at least put an opportunity in that discussion.
So, yeah, so just because I like clean motions, the latter part is a recommendation, not part of the motion, but I think we can all agree that that's a great idea.
Yeah, that works fine.
Yeah, okay. And a second by the Mayor Pro Tem. Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor, if I could also ask, we didn't get a recommendation from you on the type of building the cottage.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, the cottage look, please.
Incorporated in?
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and vote.
The motion carries 6-0.
All right. Madam Clerk.
A motion to reconsider the vote on any action taken by the City Council either at this meeting or the previous meeting may be made only by one of the council members who voted with the prevailing side.
All right. Tonight we're going to adjourn in the memory of Dick Pickup and Aaron Jones. I'll be reading the adjournment in memory of Richard Dick Pickup, a generous philanthropist, studied investor, and patriarch of the family stewarding such landmarks as the Newport Beach Country Club and Balboa Bay Resort and Club, who died unexpectedly on April 25th, 2024. Widely known for his tireless work ethic and keen investment prowess, Dick had spent the morning of April 24th at his Newport Beach office, engaged in some of his favorite endeavors, finalizing the terms of a new charitable gift, trading stocks, and reviewing a potentially new deal before visiting Newport Beach Country Club, which he and his family so lovingly transformed, and then suffering a stroke that led to his death. Born and raised in Whittier, California, Pickup moved to Newport Beach in the 1960s. There, he raised his family, became a successful stockbroker and private investor in small and mid-cap public companies, and spent as much time swinging a golf club as his busy schedules permitted. Dick's investment achievements allowed him to engage in transformational philanthropy for the betterment of Orange County, Coachella Valley, and beyond. Most notably, Dick recently made a $50 million gift to Hoag Hospital to create the Richard H. Pickup Center for Brain Health, after a previous $15 million gift that created the Pickup Family Neurosciences Institute. These significant gifts have laid the groundwork for revolutionary brain health care and treatment in Orange County. Dick's philanthropic initiatives have instilled in his children and grandchildren the same charitable zeal, leaving a legacy of giving and helping others for generations to come. Dick also served as the visionary mentor in business to his son, Todd, and son-in-law, Kevin Martin, who co-founded Eagle 4 Partners, a Newport Beach-based private equity group specializing in strategic hospitality, golf, lifestyle, residential, and sports entertainment investments with such notable local properties as Pendry Newport Beach, Vea Newport Beach, and the Ritz-Carlton Residences Newport Beach, currently in development. Dick will be greatly missed by those who mourn his passing from his life to eternity, including his wife Donna, his children Devin and Todd, and their spouses Kevin and Natalie, their mother Carol, and his grandchildren McKenna Martin, Maddie Martin, Ryan Martin, Max Pickup, and Neil Pickup, as well as the entire Eagle 4 team, his business partners, and many friends. Dick, you will be missed. And then we will be adjourning as well in the memory of Aaron Jones, read by Mayor Pro Tem Stapleton.
Yeah, I'll just add that Dick Pickup was a legend in this community, and Newport Beach is a better place because of him. And we'd all be fortunate to have such an impact in the community. On the opposite end of that, someone who was taken from us far too young. On the morning of April 28th, the police chief sent out an email about a shooting and a killing in the city of Tucson, Arizona, by a student who went to CDM High School. And I had a sinking feeling that I had a very close friend who's got a daughter that went to CDM High School, and it turns out this was her best friend. Our second and final adjournment tonight is the memory of Aaron Jones, a graduate of CDM High School, class of 2022. Aaron was tragically and senselessly killed in a shooting on April 28th in Tucson, Arizona. She was just 20 years old. The shooting occurred after a party that Aaron was attending along with other students from the University of Arizona. She happened to be standing outside of the house waiting for an Uber. Aaron was a standout student athlete on the CDM High School soccer team. Her soccer coach described her as well-known and active in the school community, with a passion for the game of soccer and for being a kind and inclusive teammate to all. She was affectionately known as Princess Cool. We extend our condolences to Aaron's family and friends during this very difficult time.
We stand adjourned.